and reports to get through, so we'll start with Chief Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me this evening. A couple of significant calls for service for last month. We responded to one large disorder at one of our businesses where about 20 people were involved. Officers had to arrest 2 individuals for drunk in public. And then on the 8th of January, we responded to a past sexual assault. A report was completed and the investigations division of ACPD was notified for follow-up. A couple of community engagement events. We attended the quarterly SART regional meeting with our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Still having lunch with our elementary school kids. And we also had another meeting with UVA PD and our other regional partners on the MOU for the mental health exchange initiative. So that initiative does seem to be going very well for us right now.
Can you just recap a little bit what that is about, Chief, please?
Yes, so if we take someone into custody on an emergency protective order
Right.
or a temporary detention order, a lot of times what we can do is take them up, notify UVA, and we can take them up to the University of Virginia's ER. And hopefully if UVA has enough staffing, they can take over the person for us
I see.
instead of our officers having to.
So you don't have to sit there.
Mhm.
Then they have staff to actually deal with the
They have-
issue at hand, right?
They have 8 secure rooms now up there that's fully built out, so it's working pretty well.
That's great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Our auxiliary officers donated about 44 and a half hours of their time for the past month. Department news, you can see where we've started our range qualifications.
How often do you have to do that?
It's mandatory once a year.
That's
Where you have to
Figure.
do it. Also wanted to mention to council about a DCGS equipment grant that has just been released. One of the grants is about a $2 million grant for equipment purchases, and I wanted to, it's a 75-25% match, and I wanted to see if council wanted to pursue the grant maybe for a message board for the town special events, and maybe the cone trailer and cones for special events.
Where
So
would
just-
we store those things? Steve?
I would think we would have to store them back up at the Van Cleef property where we,
Do we have room under a covered area to store them?
well, the message board wouldn't necessarily have to be stored.
You put that in a shed.
You would
We
still,
need
it
it.
would probably extend its life if it were.
We do need that. We do
Yeah,
need that.
I agree.
Chief, what's the cost overall, or what would the town cost be, that you would guess for that?
Well, I did get a quote, an updated quote on the message board. Message board right now is about $15,241. Cone trailer's probably gonna run somewhere about 3,500, and then the cones and barricades that we want to purchase. So we're, $20,000, $25,000 if we were to get the grant. So you're looking at $4,000, $4,500 to the town for a 25% match.
Okay, thank you.
And is there a deadline for this?
March the 13th is the deadline for application to the grant.
Well, could we build a shed into the grant since it's up to 2 million, right?
Yeah, but it's a very competitive grant. So when it's
So
looking,
if you think we keep it low, we have a better chance of getting it? Because you just said, how much, 20,000 total?
I would say 20 to 25, I would have to go up maybe Lowe's or someplace and parse out a trailer to see what they cost, but last time I checked,
It's about $3,000 then.
$3,000, $3,500, and then you've got your cones and road closure signs and things. I think Jack sent me some information on cones. Do you remember what the cost of the reflective cones were, Jack? I think they were $21 a cone or something like that.
Yeah, that's not,
So
and we don't need a ton of them, right? We just need
just enough to be able
a
to close
dozen
off
or
the streets
so,
and stuff.
something. Maybe
A couple dozen.
Couple dozen, yeah.
And you mentioned the Van Cleef area, you talked about the storage up there.
by the cell tower, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if that storage area was properly maintained, I think some room could be made there.
You think-
The shed.
The cones could fit in. I'm concerned more about the message board and things like that, because that's a big
Well,
expense.
the height,
To at least have it covered from the weather, you know,
if
would
it's the
be,
same size as this one here, a little bigger,
Is which one?
for your speed limit,
Yeah, it's about the same size.
okay?
Maybe just a little bit more aerodynamic, you know, the
Yeah.
dynamic, a little slimmer.
Mhm.
Not quite as bulky as that one, but they're about the same size.
Okay, so that would fit in there.
Yeah, that was good.
Now, what else would, I don't know, but
yeah, well, but would it make it so tight that you couldn't get in there and get to the other things and stuff like that? That's what we don't
that's
know.
on what you wanna put in there.
You could store it, there's a lot of room there. I've been in there a few times.
It
Yeah.
just needs to be straightened up.
But yeah, you need to organize it a little bit, put this one side and stuff, I think, but I do think we do need kind of kind of a garage cover
That's right.
for the, what's that, that machine, what's that we got? The little lawnmower, whatever it's called.
Oh, the gator,
The gator, yeah, we needed something, because that's out in the weather, and that shouldn't be out in the weather, it's
Yeah.
just covered with stuff,
Yeah,
yeah, that should be covered.
One of the things I think I would follow up with you, chief, would be with the grant, you'd want it to be as streamlined as you think necessary. If you think adding a shed to it would weaken the grant, then I think that's, I would say delete it. In other words,
Yeah,
I want
sure.
whatever the best chance is to get those supplies for the town. So if
But
you
the thing
think,
is, I don't think that should be out in the open, I think that should be locked up. It's a valuable piece of
Yeah,
equipment like
yeah.
that, I don't think that should be under the shed.
well, I'm more saying that the secondary question is how we
Stick
take
it in,
care of it. The first one is can we get the stuff?
well, can we price one of those metal sheds? What
Yeah.
we're- I think what we're talking about here is if you're looking at $20,000, right? 25% match, is that what, $5,000? Is that what we're talking about? So the town would have to come up with $5,000. If we could find a shed for 5,000, just one of those metal sheds even that you could drive these things into, a garage type of thing, then we'd be looking at maybe 30,000, 25 or $30,000, right? So can the town afford to manage that? I think that's the big question, right?
Well, the grant's very specific on what equipment can be purchased.
Oh,
I don't
really?
remember seeing any sheds. or
Okay,
anything.
all right,
It's
well,
very specific.
then
equipment.
it's 20 to 25,000 and we'd have to put in what, 5 to 7.
I just know- We're still struggling to pay off some of that car that was built through that grant. We haven't even finalized some of those bills yet. So that's why I thought it was very important to talk with you council members to see if it's something that you all felt that we could manage at this point, or did we just pass until another time?
What's the amount remaining on the card? Do you know that for the Melody?
Quite a bit. I know Javier's been working with USDA to get that grant through. So I can pay the bills for it.
Yeah, there's probably $13,000 that's still owed to the people that built the car. And then $600 close to striping it up. I mean, there's
I'm saying there's probably close to $15,000.
there's some expenses out there that still have not been finalized. The town, the grant's ready to be reimbursed, but we're just in a pretty bad spot right now when it comes to getting those grants finalized.
Why are we in, yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
I'm not a part of that part of it.
Who is a part of that? Javier?
The town administrator is dealing with that. portion.
the problem?
Yeah, Melody.
She doesn't know.
Doesn't know.
I haven't been.
I mean, is it a timing issue? Because I think this is part of a bigger problem of just cash flow management in the
Yeah,
town,
sounds like,
right? And we've talked about this before. Even if we pass on this and move it, do we have enough surplus cash to match the 25%? I mean, our budget is really just an operational budget. It's very little capital improvement. And so we need to address this, and during budget season, we should really talk about this quite seriously on getting new funds in. But for now, are we in arrears with any, like the folks that built out the car?
I can't answer that question.
Well,
It's all-
I was telling Melanie, let's just ask Javier to give you a little report about where you are on the $13,000 to $15,000, so we can clear up what's going on.
But can we draw down from the long-term fund to pay off what we need to and then put it back when the grant comes
But
through?
there may be no problem.
Yeah, it's a, they asked for, he was talking to them on Friday before he
whom?
left to USDA. And they asked for more paperwork. The one thing that they're waiting for that I do know is the audit from Robinson, our accountants, and we haven't got it yet.
Now you know the problem is you're dealing with USDA and they got boxes to check and utility check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it probably, you probably want to use well, we got to pay these people as a carrot, get USDA to hurry along the process as much as they can.
I just want to make sure we're not falling behind with other people who've done us a service to build out the car. They shouldn't have to wait because we're waiting on the grant. My feeling is if we have to borrow from long-term funds to make sure they get paid, as long as we know it's coming back, we'll just put it back. That's what I'm concerned about, is just I mean, these are, I'm assuming this is a small business, right? There's not a huge amount of work in this area to build out these vehicles. So we're talking about people's livelihood here. I wouldn't want them to wait.
I was just curious, you know what it would cost to rent one of those signs, like,
The message boards,
yeah, 3 or 4 times a year, or at least for the 4th of July?
didn't the town rent those before when Matt was here? I think it was, what? Couple thousand
Oh,
each
really, just for
weekend?
rental?
It was not
I think it's
cheap.
the former chief before you were the.
I don't know.
I just wonder, can't even borrow one from them.
Well,
Yeah, that's a good
They don't
idea.
have 4th of July.
I mean, since it's VDOT, we could go to VDOT because, last special events, we've got 2 streets here.
Mhm.
They're maintained by VDOT,
Yeah,
supposedly.
well, let's ask them.
So I have-
Other avenues.
I have reached out to VDOT. VDOT told me last year that their signs were tied up on road projects, didn't have any available. Reached out to the other police department. They assured me that it would be here and it
They
wasn't.
never showed up.
So we are,
Police department?
so,
Hmm.
I don't know. They do have a new commander, this year, and I know he will be with us, when we start talking about the 4th of July. On the 22nd, when we have our meeting. So that was one of the questions that I was gonna ask, just to make sure that we
Yeah.
could potentially get one of them. But no guarantees.
Well, what do y'all think about this grant? Should we pursue?
I would say
I
so.
would wait until we see what our surplus is and get a good report from auditors, see where we're at.
Yeah, but
I mean,
this
if
is
we're
due,
thinking it's,
Jackson surplus for,
this is due March
next year. So
13th.
we got, by next meeting, we should know.
We would see him next week.
Yeah,
yeah, he'll be,
yeah.
Will he have that information, Melody, at that time, what the surplus is?
I know he was working on the budget on Friday, and I think he may have taken, it probably, looks like he printed off a huge thing to take with him on vacation.
Uh-huh.
So,
Poor guy. When's the award?
Well, you probably are not gonna get the award. You'll get notified maybe in the summertime.
See, I'm wondering if it's in next fiscal year.
It-
So
Yeah.
knowing what the budget is this year is no good to us because it'll come in next year. So we have to be prepared potentially to match it out of next year's budgetary fund.
So we'll submit. And then probably get notifications whether we got the grant or not, and then most likely July 1st.
Yeah.
Would be when the award, or maybe September. Before they start spending down the funds, like the last one that we applied for was October before they released the funds.
My feeling is we should try for it.
I mean, the fact of the matter is it's a public safety issue.
Exactly.
And if it costs $2,000 to rent it for the weekend,
Exactly.
and it's 2 or 3 events a year over the course of, I mean, it'll pay for itself.
And we could use it
eventually.
for other things, I can imagine, so. I say we apply. And if we don't get it, it's all moot, and if we do, then we'll just have to figure out how to work it into next year's budget.
I agree.
By when in March does it have to be? The first part, 13.
Do you have people that can write the grant to get it in by the 13th?
Yeah, me.
I'm working on one too, so I feel your pain. We need a lot more grant writers.
We're all there.
I'm not perfect at it, but I think we've been pretty successful. I think the police
Yeah.
department's
Yeah, I think your
probably
department's
over
really,
$100,000
yeah.
in a little over 2 years.
You're the grant man.
Oh, I don't know about that. Far from it. But
Let's put it on next Monday's agenda to take a vote on whether the police department should apply for this grant or not.
Good idea.
okay, thank you. Let's see. So some may have heard, but we continue our work with some of our local business owners and citizens on a police foundation. And that police foundation is a nonprofit, of course, 501(c), and the foundation they have the ability to be able to solicit funds and things like that for the police department, for police officer training, specialized equipment and things like that, special events. Like we did last year for the Boys and Girls Club, with the Boys and Girls Club, the foundation could help us with that. We're in need of a new laptop computer, as I talked about. The foundation could fund something like that for the police department. So the paperwork was submitted and we got the 501(c) approval back from the IRS, so we're good. Just working with some of the citizens and business owners now on the completion and finalization of a foundation board.
That's what I was just gonna ask, who's on the board? What's your structure look like?
Yeah, so we're still working on that.
Okay,
Got a few people in mind, but
That's great.
that is great. It's a great idea.
Officer Barnett, some may know, will be retiring at the end of this month, February the 29th. His last work day with us will be the 23rd. So next week on the 19th, I'll have I've got his retirement ID now. I've got the badge and the ID wallet ordered, but I'm hoping it'll get here before he retires, before we have that ceremony, right?
That'll be on the 20th.
Oh, what's that?
That'll be on the 20th. Monday's a holiday.
Oh, Monday's the holiday. Okay, so it's on the 20th. I'm glad you told me that. Because we would have been here on the 19th. Okay, so 20th, got it. So on the 20th, we'll be here.
Okay,
And I don't know if the town's ever done this before, but by statute, we can allow him to retire with his duty weapon. And my thought was that for $1, the town and the police department would send him off with his duty weapon.
Yeah.
I think it's a good gesture.
Absolutely.
It's given the town a lot of years of service, and
absolutely.
he doesn't want any big fanfare going away or anything, but I did think that it was important for us to at least send him away.
To
That,
recognize his contribution,
okay?
all for it.
Let's see, we do have the stakeholders meeting on the town's July 4th events for the 22nd of February at 10 a.m. here at Victory Hall. I think, Eddie, you've been invited to that, and I'm not sure.
I
if
hope
anyone
I can
else.
make it. I'll be.
But it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, the 22nd. We've got our partners from Fluvanna, Buckingham, the rescue squad from Fluvanna or Buckingham. Our fire department rescue squad folks will be here. ACPD will be here. I think everybody that really has a hand in our planning and helping us manage and man the July 4th events for that
That's
day.
great. We're getting an early start, which is nice.
Yeah, I think, Jack, you coming?
I am.
Also, just last thing I have is, I hope everyone saw Valley Street there, Irish Road, both north and southbound. The ditches had been cleaned on both sides, so
It's nice.
thankfully water's not running through the middle of the street anymore. And the
Is
stats,
that something that you and your department did on your own?
what's that? sir?
Clean that Valley Street, so it looks nice?
We did.
That's above and beyond your call to duty.
I will
Be
tell you.
top of it.
Real quick, was sitting there at CNS, because they have workers, one lane, and workers in the road, and lady comes flying past one of them with the stop sign, I stopped her and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, it's no big deal. I'm like, what do you mean it's no big deal? So, anyway, so,
Hopefully she got a ticket.
yeah, she did. But, anyway, that's the kind of stuff those people
No
have to
big
deal with.
deal.
Yeah, no, it's no big deal. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a big deal.
Let me ask something, Officer Barnett, is he full time?
What's going on?
No, so with. So what, is there a plan for a substitute for him, or, I know you're looking to hire somebody, but if. You can't find anybody right away, whatever, can we work with Alvaro getting a periodic, or maybe change the
Intern.
hour, whatever, what's the plan? Have you thought about that, what if it goes another month, we don't have.
Might be longer than that.
Okay, so that'll save us some money in the budget.
So I've been reaching out so I've got it advertised right now. I've had one application that I know of. Have you had any more since? Yeah, one. I've even reached out to some retired folks that I know, hey, about part-time,
Mhm.
They don't want to.
not interested. You got small police departments starting officers at 50.
Yeah.
And bigger police departments or mid-sized police departments 50 plus.
Yeah,
And that's a recruit officer that has to go to the academy.
right.
It may be to the point where, I have to hire somebody that's new and has to go to the academy. If that's the case, if I find the right person and it's 10 months that they're 20 weeks at the academy, 12 weeks in field training. So it'll be 10 months before the person would ever be ready for the street.
They wouldn't even be here. Oh,
They'll be here field training, but not able to work by themselves.
okay. Oh,
Wow.
Brad and I have been looking at the schedule and talking, is it beneficial for us I think when the weather warms up a little bit, I'll be coming in Saturday through the Friday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and take the Sunday and Monday. And then I was thinking about moving Brad from a 10-hour work schedule to 5 8-hour days, so we have more coverage.
That's what I do. I thought of too, that's great.
I don't know if it's thought through,
Yeah,
Bill,
but I
but
mean,
the two of us, it's gonna be tough to cover. But Albemarle does, help
They help.
us down
Yeah, good.
when we're not available there. They're down here for sure.
Yeah,
Which is a blessing.
But it's gonna put a hurt on us. So.
It will change the dynamics a little bit for sure. It's gonna be different until we can get someone hired on,
Do you think it's mostly a pay issue, Chief?
no doubt.
Yeah.
The max I could start was, I think I did 42.5 to 47. We've got maintenance folks making more money than
Yeah.
our police officers are making. So when I've had one phone call from an officer in Norfolk, his family's from here, had a few questions, but wanted to know, can't you do a little better in pay? This guy's got 10 years on the job. I said, I might be able to squeak out 48.
I was gonna say, how much better is he talking?
Oh, the guy's 10 years on the job in Norfolk. He's probably making $70,000 easy.
I know, but he said, can't you do a little bit better? How much is a little bit better?
I said 48.
And he said, no.
I didn't hear any more.
But
I mean,
he would come fully qualified as opposed to training.
Goes back to budget.
So we don't have any additional expenses except for hiring him and, you know, maybe an advance in salary. And the advance in salary, you know, probably would equal the cost, because we have to pay to send someone to the academy. There's all those expenses incurred with a new person. So I don't know over the long term, but in the first year, you're gonna save money by giving, you know, having a better base salary.
But I can start a brand new officer. You know, probably 44, 45. They go to the academy. And then they're certified. What I'd like to be able to do, Jim, is maybe look at Charlottesville or one of the other jurisdictions. That have a 3-year contract. And see, I know Charlottesville has a contract, it's 3 years. And how we might be able to make that work for us.
You mean with the police officer?
So what that contract would do. So they enter into a 3-year contract with the town, it's and I'm just making up numbers.
Yeah.
Let's say it's $20,000. A 3-year contract, first year, and it's prorated. First year, you stay with the town, after you're sent to the academy. You know what, it's $7,000 is paid back. Second year, another $7,000 paid back, now you're 14. Third year, your contract's paid in full. If you were to leave, you owe the town nothing. Something
So
like that.
that's a big problem. You get people, you put them through the academy and then they immediately turn around and leave.
That's the
Yeah.
Because
problem.
they can double, they cannot double, but they can make 10 or 15,000 more.
I leave.
Okay, now I understand.
So I was thinking, and it is, I mean, it was, I've hired people from another department and they've paid their remaining part of the contract and moved on. Some of them won't leave because of the contract.
I think that sounds like that could be done. You sort of cited the precedent where it's been done before, and especially if you think that it's needed for the reasons you kind of partially enunciated here now.
I think it protects the town,
You know,
is what I
well,
believe.
you put you all in investment, and the longer people stay here, the more likely they are to continue to stay here.
But it is gonna continue to be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
These salaries have gone up so much for all of the staff. That again, we're gonna have to deal with revenue generation at budget time. This is probably, from my perspective, the most pressing and serious issue on the table for this council.
Well, I know recruitment and retention is the problem. Police and rescue, all. I
In
mean,
general.
It's nationwide.
But we can't even get started out the gate if we can't match an effective salary.
Well, I'll give you Albemarle County as an example. At the same time, the Scottsville Rescue Squad was having trouble with recruitment and retention, and Rick Randolph says get it done in 3 months. They were having problems with recruitment and retention and didn't get it done within 10 months.
Yeah.
So that we were disbanded. And it was all, well, I won't go into that, but anyway, we're training people in Albemarle County. And without, you know, something like this contract that the chief's talking about, these guys are hauling butt down to Henrico
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
or
it's not that
Manassas.
far, yeah.
Manassas is,
They'll.
I believe it's about 76,000 starting salary up there. So,
Yeah,
Albemarle County, I think they're just a recruit starts at 53. And once they complete the academy, they jump into the pay scale, you're talking mid-50s, quick.
but
And we
they,
can't compete with.
but if they can find $1 down 64 somewhere, they're gone, you know.
We can't compete. They're trying to find someone that's homegrown, local.
Yeah.
It's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping for,
Yeah,
but even the folks that I know part-time, I'm not getting back in police work. I'm not interested in it. Talked to one, well, let me talk to my wife. And he hadn't talked to his wife. I talked to him again today.
Chief, let me ask you something, Albemarle County is gonna have, a project or, some type of program where people come in as auxiliary and ride alongs. Have you heard anything about that? we got an email on it.
Yeah, I saw
You
that.
talk about the police Citizens Police Academy?
Yeah, something like
That's
that.
No, about,
You think you could get any recruits out of those folks?
That's where I started. I went to the Citizens Police Academy first,
Right.
and then I got the bug. I went to the Auxiliary Academy and then served for 10 years before moving up here.
Yeah,
most of the time, if you're looking to get, you were probably the exception. Most of the time, a Citizens Police Academy are folks our age.
Yeah, old folks.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. I wasn't gonna say.
Hey,
that.
hey,
They're interested in learning more about law enforcement, right?
I went through the regular academy when I was 50.
Do you need a job?
wow.
Actually, he does.
Space
Yeah, if you were just a few years younger, we
I
might
know.
be able to do that.
Can he quilt while he's?
But the Explorers program, things like that is where you get your younger recruits for police jobs.
Where
You
do
know-
we have it advertised stuff?
I know we've had it on social media. I've put it on VACP site. But any place local,
Place like Indeed or.
can we do that?
yeah,
Yeah, there's Indeed, ZipRecruiter.
Which one has anybody used? What would be the best?
we
I
used
mean,
Indeed.
I think Indeed is the big one right now.
Yeah, they do a lot of advertising, so.
Could you use that
Charge,
job
right?
description that I put
Pardon?
together and posted out?
Charge for that.
It is.
I'm not sure, I think for the employer, yes, we would have to pay for that.
I think Indeed is like $30 or $40.
Per,
Put it up and it puts it up like 6 months.
Yeah, it's not
It's not
expensive.
really
Okay.
all that expensive.
They make money on volume.
Yeah.
so could you do that for me,
Yeah.
Melody? Would
I'll
that be
figure it
okay?
out.
I don't know anything about it.
They're always sending me free.
Yeah.
So she'll just need the job, all the job. info.
Put it on the website.
Oh, she's got it.
Our people look for
Um,
it.
It's on the
What's
town's
the
website.
here, they know the source for UVA and that kind of stuff.
Mostly everybody uses Indeed. UVA uses Indeed.
Yeah,
You sure? I mean, for students and that kind of thing.
yeah, for their
Yeah,
insurance
that's
and
the big
everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Melody, when we put it on there, I think what we might want to do is add some of our benefits, like a take-home car. Insurance benefits, it is VRS position and things like that. So we can give a little bit of what we offer
Right.
to a person, small town. But she
Yeah.
has the job description and the requirements and everything. Yeah, but if you could do that, that would be awesome.
The gentleman from Norfolk, did he give you his phone number that maybe we can call him back?
He was, his father-in-law was calling.
He's interested.
Was his father-in-law called you
Mhm.
to see if he'd give his son-in-law a job?
To see what the job is about.
He wants to come back.
So
Can we put it out just on general social media, like through,
we have.
I mean, like through Ready Scott's?
I did.
You did,
He did, and I put it on our website.
all right.
Scottsville Police Departments, it's tagged at the top and it's staying at the top until we can get it filled.
All right.
I've actually had 5 people inquire about maintenance position on Facebook.
Really?
And I told them to, go on, print off everything and bring it back next week when Javier's here. He'll be back on Tuesday, so we have had some movement on that, but
If we could get Jim to do a TikTok video,
Little dancing, Jim,
Yeah.
they love dance on TikTok.
bad
You'd
boys,
have to show me how to get on TikTok.
we can get you to do some moves to bad boys.
Bust
You have to
moves,
convince me not to
yeah.
get off of it after we get on. too.
Mayor, that's all I have.
Any other questions for the chief so we can move on to the next?
I would like to propose that we have an agenda item next week for Mr. Bowling and his TikTok video.
As long as you show me how.
We're there, it's all set.
Our fire chief does not seem to be here this evening, so real quick chamber report. I was not able to attend the board meeting this past week, but basically what the chamber's doing is trying to make sure that all their information that's going to appear on their website is correct as far as businesses and all that sort of thing, and then work on the calendar and see where they can join in with other organizations like the town for holiday happenings, 4th of July, the museum in the town or and scan, whatever events come about. So the chamber is wants to get as active as they can, and they did get a new scan got a new sign over on the property. If you haven't seen it, across from the cemetery, it looks real nice. Okay, Alex is not here, so no ARB report unless Melody has anything from that. Anything exciting from ARB that you know?
No,
And Mr. Briscoe,
Melody, before we move on, Melody, I need to get on their calendar for the next meeting.
okay,
Can you help me do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
Mr. Mayor, from the planning commission, yeah, a couple things of note. We had a discussion about 3 different zoning text amendments. One about clubs, lodges, etc. You're familiar with that one. I'll come back to it. We talked about another one with fire and rescue stations. And then the other one had to do with a dry cleaner and how that would fit in with it. So there were 3 different discussions, 3 different recommendations we had related to this. Basically, in conversation, the planning commission recommended by right for the clubs, lodges, civic. It was more a conversation. I think it was kind of split a little bit between some people who were a little bit more focused on the issue of the Riviera Club and some people focused on the bigger issue of just organizations altogether. But the recommendation was by right. Any question about that?
Well, was there any pros and cons that stood out? Because we're gonna be dealing with that next week, and so they recommended by right.
Yeah, there was basically, you might say, it's kind of the same conversation we're having. Should we have a special use permit that gives us the ability as a town to look at each case as it comes in? Or is it by right in terms of just the civic organization having a chance to be able to do as it wants? And so it wasn't, I wouldn't call the vote, I mean, it was unanimous, but I wouldn't call it a hard core, so to speak. So the by right was the ended up final vote. The next one related to the fire and rescue, that one was decided as a special use. And basically special use, meaning if there's going to be something done with fire or ambulance or that type of thing, there should be a special use because people may be wanting or interested related to how that would play out related to their property. And then the last one, Melody, I'm going to ask you to remember for me. I think it was by right we decided in this one. Is that correct?
What was the last?
The last one had to do with the dry cleaners.
Oh.
okay, let me go get my notes, I didn't bring those with me.
Okay, I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that point
And
because
this may be a good time to talk about that. There seems to be a misconception about what your powers are as far as by right versus special use permit. And somehow you get a blank check for special use permits in this commercial district for uses which are really remarkably similar as far as their planning effect on this, that, and the other, the factors that you really focus on for planning. And so I think the misconception is that you somehow have much more power than you really have. And in this case, what's going to be before you next week is really not a zoning text amendment. It's a correction of scriptures there, which has been in existence for 20 years. So it's technically, it's not a zoning text amendment. When you do a special use permit versus a by right use, the special use permit doesn't give you the right to do anything you want to or to correct a lot of things you think that it probably does, because the uses that are already there, and you have to prove with empirical evidence based upon studies that the town has, that this use would be detrimental in some way that's different than the other uses that are already there in the commercial district. And when you get into that, you find that you don't really have this blank check that you think that you do with the magic word special use permit versus by right. When you're talking about an established commercial district, which has been in place for many, many years, and so forth and so on. So, and that's part of the confusion that comes into play. And the other problem you have is that if anybody ever takes a look at your zoning ordinance, you can say, well, if they would actually do a rezoning, which is not here, then we have the right to dictate conditions or problems. But that's wrong now, because your zoning ordinance is antiquated for the reasons that I've talked about probably ad nauseum. And every time I bring it up, everybody's out rolls their eyes and said, yeah, we know it was adopted in 1990s and it was a word for word. But in 2016, the General Assembly completely changed the whole ball game for proffers. And proffers are no longer the fertile field that everybody imagines they are for rezonings. You're restricted to proffers only as they relate to transportation, education, and public parks of all things. And even then, even when you get a proffer, the town then has the burden on the poor town administrator of proving by the reasonableness of the proffer by, again, empirical evidence, so that he can defend it from the attack of somebody that says that, well, this proffer is not reasonable. So you have to be careful in what you're really talking about, because it sounds like by doing this, you get a huge amount more freedom than doing that. And in many cases, that's not really the case.
Mr. Bowling, let me just follow up with you just to say again, just to clarify, I'm actually saying this with everybody here. The original zoning text amendment that was in conflict, you might say it was in conflict with each other.
It sure was.
And the principle at that point is you go with the stricter one. And because you go with the stricter one, which in this case would be the special use permit.
No, that's your analysis is all based. The issue.
I'm trying to say what, I think that's the way Javier's explained.
No, Javier is not a legislative body. You're the legislative body.
Right.
Javier is your administrator, and his functions are a zoning administrator, are to interpret the zoning ordinance. And when he interprets the zoning ordinance, that again in turn doesn't give him a free rein to suddenly legislate what he wants to do. He's restricted. And the terms of the zoning ordinance in that case said that whenever there's a conflict in the statutes, the zoning administrator shall, no discretion, shall go with the stricter interpretation.
That's
So
what I was
he
trying
had no choice but to say, in this particular case, you have to go and get a special use permit unless the town corrects what is, again, not a zoning text amendment, a Scrivener's error, which has been in existence for what, 25 years.
So, Mr. Bowling, let me just say this, because that's exactly right. That's how I understood it, even though maybe I didn't say it.
And I rambled too far.
No, that you're rambling. You're rambling is good. So, but my point is, you won't be here next week, right?
No,
So my point is, if any other town councilors have questions to you, it's a good time to ask you about this issue.
yeah, or they can just call me up or send me. I do better on the phone than emails because it's easier to talk and it's easier to get the nuances of what's going on. But just give me a call and I'll happy to try to discuss it.
Well, I was also trying to take a moment just to say on this report, since you're here, if that generates any questions, if anybody have for them.
Well, I don't know if it's a question, but I was just curious. I want to have a meeting. Was there many people we had this special, speaking arrangement? Did many people speak, and did they even understand that at all?
No, not many people.
So there weren't.
It was just a representative.
There's only a couple of people. Okay.
Yeah, just a
So we'll probably get a whole
attorney.
people next week, and maybe we need to explain that to them too.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
And
Yeah.
in everybody's defense, the good citizens' defense, this is complicated stuff.
It is.
Right.
And they'll get around it. It's not intuitive, and the lawyers in the General Assembly have purposely made it confusing, I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It's zoning.
Right.
For better or worse, that's.
But I
what
think
it's done.
in the public's mind, it's like do we want a social club or do we not want a
Yeah,
social club?
I think you're
And
giving
that-
away the kitchen sink by doing one or the other, which is not the case. I mean, it's kind of like if you didn't even have social club in your ordinance
Right.
and they came in and wanted to be in the commercial district, could you say, no, we don't want social clubs? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not in your commercial district, you could in a residential district. But not the way you got it set up and how it operates. So that's something I just wanted to throw out.
No, that's.
Thoughts to
Very
consider.
helpful.
Anybody else with that particular one? Last one, Melody, again, I think it was by right, is that correct?
Right, and what I have in my,
So this is about the dry cleaner again. the
right,
last one.
and what I have in the minutes, it says, we did a motion, Shannon, Strassner to recommend Scottsville Town Council strike through the requirement in section 11.10.122, whatever, to strike out the attendance. They didn't want, it's not required that they have to have an attendant for duty 24 hours.
Right, the dry cleaner.
Yeah,
That's a new matter that hadn't been advertised, right? No.
It was just the same, it was they were.
It was a
reviewing-
different section.
Yeah,
It's another
I hate to
section.
tell you.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No, don't say that.
You just can't carte blanche change your zoning ordinance because you've got all these public notice requirements and advertising. And so you can't act on that at this meeting unless it's been properly advertised and.
You probably have to have a public, like a
That
public
would be a
hearing.
question for how
Have to
to.
have a public hearing, because it's a zoning.
We advertised the
I-
public hearing in the Daily Progress.
Did that ever happen?
Just a
Twice.
few days ago,
Twice.
Yeah,
and I can't remember, I believe all three.
were they in there?
Were in there. Unless I,
that's how you wrote it, I don't know.
Well, you have, then if it's not in there, then it's, you can't.
Then you have to advertise it again.
It's a good question if to say.
but I believe they were all there.
And then the planning commission also had to give you a recommendation, so if it was advertised for the planning commission to do it, then it's fine. But if it isn't advertised, then it's not fine. And-
Right.
And who's gonna care? Probably nobody.
You know,
I mean, you've had this zoning ordinance for a long time, and there has not been any activity in Scottsville for a long, long time. And so, but all of a sudden you're getting activity and more coming, so if you just ignore it and don't follow the proper procedures, then somebody who's gonna invest perhaps every cent they have and their blood, sweat and tears to make a venture a success is gonna get caught in that. And you might want him not to get caught and you have no control over it because you've forgotten to dot your i's and cross your t's. And that's why it's important to follow the procedures.
That's helpful, Mr. Bullock, thank you. And the last thing I'll say, we did talk at great length again about the comp plan. At the moment, it's in the process, as you know, of putting it in writing, and that writing will be something that planning commission will review, we'll review as the town council. And there were some recommendations on different parts of it, but that's in process and it still has.
Have you
weeks
seen
to
the
go.
bill? The draft, have you seen the draft bill?
I've seen what has been presented
Yeah.
in different pieces that,
I mean,
yeah, but not
a real
a
draft.
complete document,
I
no.
mean, it'd be nice if maybe you could pass it out. I think it's, give the draft to the town council
Sure.
before it goes public. I don't think it should be at the same time. It's just be good to review that before, it'd be overwhelming. Where is there a section that's done? It seemed like the developed community section.
There's
should be done.
different parts, yeah, I
You
think,
tell the sections that's done, just tell them to pass that on. to us.
Melody, sorry. Counselor Heisen's just recommending that
Whatever's done.
Lincoln has around, that as it comes along, he would like to, we'd like to see it.
It might be easier for all of us to see
Okay.
a piecemeal than get a big 100-page, 90-page document.
Mr. Mayor, that's my update.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Britzko? Government Services Report.
All right, I passed the minutes on, but I just to let you know that Eddie's going to be out there. And we've got a couple of people that are interested in being on the committee. Kevin and I are working with Javier, and we got a couple applicants with, we're gonna be looking at the applicants for maintenance next week. And probably setting up some interviews with them. I think from what I understand, we're gonna have some good people, or at least a good replacement. Stats, you might want to jump in here too, but anyway, the town website, they've been looking at that and come on over. And, no, Stats. And, the website's been we've been working on that, he's been working at trying to get that figured out. And he's also done the capital improvement. So, if you have any questions about these kind of things, we could go over, and then the charges and responsibilities, we could go over that later. Anyway.
Relative to the website, there's a number of things that we wanted to have improved, including search within the website, a number of things added. And I've called Civic Plus and sent emails to them. They said that I had to talk to this lady Gonzalez, whatever, Victoria Gonzalez. I've sent her emails and I've sent her telephone calls. And so far I've not gotten a response. So I'm planning to go back to the people I contacted, but the one response we got from somebody was, well, they didn't know my name, so they couldn't respond to me. And Javier responded that I was working on the Government Service Committee and I was a legitimate person to interact with. And so we're getting very poor response, and I have to make a number of phone calls to see if I could get them to help respond. And then we can go through get a telephone call and go through some of the improvements that we're looking for.
Well, the one thing I will say, Stotts, is please be reminded that the contract was only for porting code, what was there on the old
Yeah.
website to the new website.
Yes.
That's all the contract covered, right? So if the committee is looking at additional functionality,
Yeah.
that's not the responsibility of Civic Plus, that will be extra money. And then council should-
What we need to do is, what I want to do is ask them, tell them what we're interested in and have them make a proposal. And then that will actually come back here for.
And I don't know if they do that, because it really depends, because what we bought was sort of their template, we bought their templated sites and things like that. So if that doesn't fit in within that purview, if we're looking at something additional outside of that boundary, it's gonna cost.
We might want to go to a different place if we can. I mean,
Yeah,
it's something to look at.
So-
It is inadequate. for
But we
a lot of
looked at
things.
all those vendors, Bill,
Right.
remember, and Civic Plus made the most sense.
Right.
So we can dial back our expectations, or we can get a private contractor to do it if that's the case.
Yeah.
But,
So that's, I need to basically have a telephone conference to explain what we want to do and see what their response is and what they'd be willing to do, and if they were going to charge us, what it would be. And then we could move from there, but that's what I'm trying to do with. And what was the other thing I've been working on is, a number of years ago, I had put together a spreadsheet which looked at projected capital expenditures over the next 5 to 10 years. And the idea is that way you can see what's going to happen. I have gotten inputs from Greg for the police, and I called Tim Carr and had his input relative to flood control. And I'm going to sit down with Javier, go over that, and that will be something that you could use when you go through the budget as for what expected capital improvements you'll need to budget for. And the part of the idea is when you have it out in the spreadsheet, you can see it's not constant over the years, and you can move things around to try to make it more consistent over the years, which will help in the budgeting.
yeah, the one thing I will say about that to the group for the budget, I know I saw a draft of the capital improvement program.
Yeah.
And the one thing I noted is not everything on there was capital improvements. And I'm not saying that came from you, Stotts, that could have come from some draft around. And I made the comment to the group at the time that like additional gravel for the parking lots and things was probably not considered a capital improvement.
So on
It
the,
would be a maintenance function, not capital.
on the projected things, I've taken out anything that looks like would be under $1,000.
Yeah,
And figured anything under 1,000 is usually, most people, most organizations consider that to be maintenance.
right.
And so this would be anything over $1,000.
Even over $1,000, I think there's certain requirements for capital, and there's capital expense and capital improvements. We
Yeah,
need to make sure we understand the difference, and we're not just taking a tax look at what that is, because they just sort of lump them all together. A capital improvement, in my mind, is something that gets us something new or enhanced from what we have today. It is a capital expense, but it gets us something new. Things like replacement computers is a capital expense, but it's not necessarily, in my eyes, a capital improvement, because we already have computers. If we need upgrades, we need to spend the money to get the upgrades. So we just need to be clear on the verbiage and what the definitions are between a capital expense and a capital improvement.
almost all of it actually, I can say is expenses, and because there's really nothing new that's in there.
Yeah, and that's my
Replacement
issue.
for- It's replacement for pumps, it's replacement for generator, it's replacement of the car.
Yeah,
you
so
know.
it's capital expenses, but not necessarily improvements. And I think we just need to understand that when we're talking about it. We're not talking about getting new things. Our budget is mostly an operational budget. We cover what we have today, and we can barely cover the upgrades for what we have today. A capital improvement program would be new things, new park and trail signs, new message boards, that's a capital improvement that would get the town something new and additional. And I think we need to talk about, that kind of funding when we talk about budget.
If you look at it, it's almost all expenses, there's.
That's
really
what
no-
I found too,
There's
Scott.
no really, nothing new really in there. It's keeping the equipment, new equipment to replace old equipment.
And I think this is a fundamental question when we go into budget season. Is that this is gonna continue to bite us as inflation continues to eat away at the budget. Is we will not be able to keep up with even what we have, let alone do anything new. And so we are heavily reliant on grants at this point to get an additional revenue. And if we can't get those grants, and we will not get new things for this town, and we will fall behind. I think this is a critical issue for the people.
In putting this together, I put in an inflation factor. So that every year progressively increases,
Yeah,
to try to keep it realistic. Now, you could argue what the inflation
Yeah.
factor is, you'll never know
Right.
what it will be until you're
it's all
actually there.
projection, right?
It's projection, but it gives you an idea, so if I have something that. We figured was 10,000 today, and 5 years from now, it's not 10,000 on the spreadsheet, it's times. Like 0.03 times 5 to the 5th power, keep inflation.
I have a good friend who's a he's a contractor. And he went to Lowe's to buy supplies for his work. Lowe's, I think it was Lowe's, anyway, it was in one of the big box stores. Said they increased price like 7 to 8% in a single month. In a single month. So. And they say they may have to increase it next month. So this is the kind of really unpredictable environment we're working in terms of these projections.
And the thing is, the prices will not come back down.
Once
will-
they're up, it's very
They
difficult.
never come back
Some
down, they
stuff
always stay up.
The wood did come down,
Yeah, it did.
Oh, did it the lumber?
Some
thing?
materials, yeah, some materials.
materials really significant.
I know wiring, I just had a house wire, that's expensive, lumber's, was expensive, it sounds like it's come down, but yeah, it's, if we need any maintenance work, we may not be able to cover some of that.
Well, I've got stats here. Let me just and he could add in this confusion, I think Javier was confused about the charter committees.
Mhm.
And he didn't use the right one. I mean, if he wanted to use the original one, that would be fine, but you know, he had good intentions, I guess, and maybe he's making another one for his own sake. But we only proposed one charter, and it was based on the original one. And the idea was, that, you know, we won't have to write, each time we have to keep track of the times and the liaison. So we made the charters into a document that would not have to be changed. And he could keep track of the liaisons and the times. But this was, we'd spent a lot of time talking about trying to make it so, because we changed it a few times since we originally passed it in November. You know, a couple of committees, a couple of liaisons, and a couple of. But anyway, this is the final document is the A document, and I guess he put, for some reason, he likes to have choices, and he put in a B one. And, you know, that's, and he did with the other thing too, so if there's questions about the boards and committees, let us know, but we kind of organized it a little bit. And, you know, laid it out, what the responsibilities are, and we didn't put in the liaisons and the times, because those change.
Yeah,
Anyway, so if you looked at the A one, that's, the B one could be for him, if he wants to keep track of that. The other thing is we kept in all the committees, and in case they wanted, we've never officially dissolved them. So if there's, you know, if somebody wants to pick up the mantle on some of those committees, like the events or the beautification, we still have it in operation, and we still have a liaison type two, and they could be the contact person rather than a committee, or they could just make a temporary committee. So anyway, that was the intent of the boards and commissions.
So the idea would, we say that the liaisons and the time of the meetings should go onto the website.
right.
So that could be changed
I agree.
without an official document having to be revoted.
Yeah, the only comment I had in reviewing this, and this is on A, is that I think under the government services, I would take out some of the verbiage that says this includes oversight of town website, this and that. That's very specific project activities, and that will change. So in the same venue as the liaisons will change, these activities will change. And I really had an issue with committee members working in close liaison with VDOT and other state and local agencies. This should be done strictly with town staff. Right?
Yeah, stale.
Yeah, Javier should be there, right? It's a partnership. I don't think we should have
Well,
committees meeting
Right.
outside unless Javier knows about it and says, yeah, go meet EPC with VDOT. Right,
well,
whether it's EPC or public safety, we should work as a close team with town staff,
Well-
that everybody's informed.
yes or no, I'll go over that in a minute when we go to parks, because I work with VDOT and of course I was a town councilor, so I guess I got an inroad with them, so. Because of that, I was able to work with VDOT and about signs and things like that. But I could work with Javier on that, but I think that you know, the liaison could work with VDOT because they are town staff, and that's a town position, but I'll go over that when we go over the.
It still should be with town staff. It should be a
Yeah,
partnership.
well, but I don't,
Right.
I just think that VDOT's an important element of government safety, you know. Just like.
Well,
police
is
and
it
fire.
government safety or government services?
Government service, I mean, government services is safety too with police and fire, so it's a little bit of. the
We
same.
have public safety.
I know that, but I mean, yours is more about like evacuation.
No, this isn't about mine versus yours. What I'm using it as an example to say, I would never meet, like I was trying to get in a meeting with Chief O'Crandy of the county. I would never meet or outreach without Javier knowing about it. And in fact, it was more appropriate for Javier to do the outreach than it was for me as a committee liaison,
Hmm,
right?
yeah.
Because I am working in the committee. We'll have a problem if too many people are outreaching to
Well,
VDOT and there's no central coordination. Mr. Mayor, I don't know, as sort of you help run the town's administration. Do you have a feeling on that?
Well, could you just take VDOT out and say with various other state and local agencies.
Just leave it open, yeah.
Or
Any of
have
us do
it,
that.
we'll work with towns, town
Or
staff.
community members may work in conjunction with
Yes.
town staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With various local-
With various local and other agencies. Make it more generic and make it with town staff. That's my only comment.
All right.
And to answer your,
That's true for all the committees, I think,
to answer your question, Bill, the only meeting that I've had with VDOT, well, you and I were there,
Yeah,
sitting right here. We had one meeting and that was back in July
right,
last year,
right.
so it hasn't. I don't know where that meeting went.
Well, Javier did ask us, he put out an email to say, is there anything new on the agenda that we want to talk about? I think it went out to you too, Eddie, and nobody had anything new.
That was the Charlottesville meeting
Yeah,
in coordination with
that's
Albemarle County,
right, that's right.
which was different
No,
than.
no, he had it, I think this was a quarterly meeting, right? We said we were gonna have quarterly meetings with VDOT. He said, do you have anything new on the agenda? If not, I forget if he said I'm gonna meet with them by myself or I'll just cancel this one and make it next time. So he
Good.
did reach out to us though.
Oh, well, I'm not saying he didn't reach out. I'm just saying the meeting wasn't here. It was
I think those were two separate things, but I could be wrong. I
could be
could be
too.
wrong. But
Yeah, I can take it out.
because we had this consortium, he should be letting us know when the VDOT meetings are, and we should be letting him know if we're reaching out to VDOT,
Yes, you
right?
should.
In the interest of transparency, which we all agreed was an issue in the past, right? We just want to make sure it goes both ways, committee to staff and staff to committee.
Yeah, I don't know when he meets, because I guess if you were meeting, and you were letting us know about it, he's meeting every month or two.
well, no, not with VDOT.
Oh, you weren't?
And I came to the initial quarterly
Oh.
type meeting here.
Yeah,
With
we agreed to
Ali.
have them quarterly.
Oh, okay.
And
But
part of that was to make sure everybody was on the same
Okay,
page.
yeah,
So if
but-
we've got all these people out, and VDOT did complain about that at the meeting, not in a strong way, but
Okay.
just say it would be helpful for them to not get calls from multiple points.
Okay, so maybe we need to let us know, put it on his schedule when he goes to the VDOT meeting.
Yes,
yeah, because the last meeting I would have attended. And I didn't, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a report about a VDOT meeting here in a workshop.
really?
Yeah,
Huh, okay, then,
so
Don't
maybe
we
I
could-
missed it, but I was surprised to hear that he had gone to Charlottesville to a meeting and it wasn't here.
yeah,
So it wasn't a regular quarterly meeting.
no, I think we all need to make sure we're in sync.
Yeah.
All right,
Anything else? from government
Thanks.
services?
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we could change that, take that VDOT out of that. And
yeah, just make it more generic.
yeah, that's too specific. Okay. You're next, I mean.
Oh, okay, so, quickly on the operations plan, the emergency operations plan. Chief Kersley has agreed to take the lead on that, which seems more than appropriate. He will update the plan. He had basically two comments. Most of what's in the Mink Creek plan now works, but the Mink Creek plan is only focused on flood emergencies. So he would like to broaden it to cover other types of emergency incidents. And he said it also needs some updating. It states specific roles and things in the ICS chart, this hierarchy, this command structure. Those names are mostly all outdated. It has Matt listed as the town administrator and things like that. So there's some updating that needs to be done. There's no date on that, but he will work on that. E911 continues. The grant is due at the end of the month. I could use something from Chief Jenkins. I could use something from you, Mr. Mayor. He smiled before he realized he was gonna be included. He's like, oh, you're on the hook. Oh, no, you too.
Tell me what you need.
I would like, the grant would like letters of support. So all I need something from you is about the importance of E911 signs in responding to emergencies. And the consistency of placement for first responders. You know, we have this saying, seconds save lives, right? So I've estimated the grant, probably 50% of people have signs, but they're not necessarily in consistent places where our first responders can locate them. So the grant is to purchase new signs, and then we're saying that we'll have volunteers help the community put them up.
What does the signs look like? What do they say?
They're just almost like address number signs, and they're reflective. So that the property can be located.
Like, what we
There's some
saw,
on Warren, if you turn onto Warren, right after, Harrison. On the right, there's a couple houses in a row right there.
They're usually
that
blue or
have them.
green or brown, reflective signs that just have a number, right? Eddie had some for the last round. So we've estimated $8,000 to purchase the signs. I'm working on a potential ordinance to bring to this group to consider at some point mandatory that each property in town would be mandated to have an E911 marker in accordance with the placement. Chief Kersley and I did a walkabout through town. We talked about the different property types and where those placements should be for properties that are on the road, and it's obvious. Properties who are 50 feet off of the road, where it's not so obvious. Multifamily properties where you have doors outside, sometimes the property's marked in the front, but you don't mark the doors. Each of those apartment doors should be marked, and they're not currently. Then you have a place where the interior doors, like the apartments over here at the old school, where each of those doors internally should be marked separately from the address of the building. So he and I have done a walkthrough. I will bring all of that to you, and Melody, I'd like to get in front of ARB because I think the reflective signs for historic properties are not quite the same for reflective signs for non-historic properties. We want them to look nice on the building that they're displayed on. So I will bring all of this information back here at a future point in time.
when do you need your letter?
The grant is due by the 29th. I'd like to have that at least by
20th.
the 20th or 21st. Yeah. I've got the grant written. The EPC committee has reviewed it. I have a couple of changes to make. I work best under pressure, so I'm waiting until the last minute. Okay, so the ordinance I'm working on, Jack did, we've agreed to do community outreach through Ready Scottsville. So Jack put a message out on Facebook, and his postings are on Instagram. We've gotten 4 new members on the committee.
Total of 10,
Pardon?
total of 10 members.
For a total of 10 members now on EPC, which is great for the committee.
Yeah, and that's
So social media works.
I sent somebody your email address.
Oh, we got it.
Did you get an email?
Fine.
Yeah, okay, yes, I did. I'm meeting with him on Saturday. So thank you, Meredith. Yeah, he did say, that's great. So I do want to thank Jack and all his work. So the grant we're putting through is through Ready Scottsville, which is a 501(c)(3). It's a nonprofit. It has been vetted. He has the IRS documentation and everything that Chief Jenkins talked about for his. So he's done a lot of work on this, and his outreach has been very successful. So Jack's done a lot of work, and it's really paying off for the committee. So thank you, Jack. Let's see. Oh, Eddie, could you write a letter of support as well? Because you're a former volunteer in this space. I had you listed to ask as well.
You send me an email, tell me who to send it to.
Well, you just said,
Just,
do you just do it to whom it may concern? And that E911 is an important service to public safety and our community, and things like that.
Oh.
And then sign it. You send it to me, then I'll attach these letters to the grant application when I send it in, okay? And that's pretty much it for the committee.
Thank you. Any parks, recreation?
Yeah, I got several things, but I'll try to go fast.
Okay.
Some of these might go until next month because some of them are gonna cost some money. We don't have the minutes quite done yet. They're in draft form, but so I could go over basically kind of what we talked about, and some of it's in the past minutes. Now I'll pass this around. These are the draft of the park rules, and of course they'll be formatted really nicely and printed and put on the signs. And we went over this, and I went over this with Mr. Bowling, and you can pass it around. The second thing is, and I already did contact VDOT, and I think Javier knew I was doing that. But anyway, we're looking at one or two signs for the park. And the problem with, well, there's two types of signs, and the one they recommended was the permanent sign, which costs anywhere from $250 to $2,500. I'm gonna see if we get a deal with it. But the other one would cost $435 a year. So this is and that's a rental, so to speak. So anyway, the sign, I'll pass this around, is gonna be at Jefferson Street. And I went over it with the guy, and we would take down this note right across from the funeral home. And we'd have to get a new pole, and they would put it there, kind of displaying, it's a display sign for direction.
It would be rental?
No, this would be permanent.
Oh, okay.
And I'll have to find out.
Rental sign,
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, all the
VDOT
signs
rental
cost money.
sign.
They all cost money.
Well, I figured it would
Yeah.
cost money, but I
Well,
figured we purchased it, I didn't know. It was a
No, you
rental.
can rent them or you could purchase them, and it's $450 a year. But this one is, they quoted me $2,500, but I think what I saw in talking to him was $250, but he's gonna give me a quote, and I'll bring the quote next time. And that sign will be pointing to the right, going northbound at the Maytag store.
Right. Okay.
And that one, the second sign, I just checked, we don't have to do any of these right now. It depends on whether we have the money. Right now, we have a public fishing lake sign on Hardware. And I asked them to find out if we could put another sign there or further up, because this is just on a telephone pole. And that street, it's undetermined whether that's VDOT road, it's Hardware address.
This driveway.
Well, it's Hardware addressed to there's one pole,
That
and it's, you know where it is, and it has Hardware address. And we might be able to get a VCNA sign there, either up the road or on that. And he's gonna check on that too and see if we can do that.
just to add, so that where that sign came from, when they
It's
started,
DWR, right?
when they started stocking the lake, that's when they put it up.
Okay, yeah, right. And so
Who did that? I'm sorry.
The
DWR.
Department of Game and Inland Fisheries,
It's called
that's
DWR.
Wildlife Resource.
Okay.
And they oversee that too, VDOT oversees that too, so they're gonna give me a quote on both of them. The sign, and see what would cost to do that, and we may be able, since we're a nonprofit, we may be able to get minimal cost. So I'm hoping that, but when he told me $2,500 last time, I was thinking, that's a lot of money, so for a sign, maybe we don't need one, that would be the Maytag.
Hey, can we just go back? You said since we are a nonprofit, what?
We're a government facility, a lot of these signs are like you see on the highway,
Right,
like McDonald's coming. There's two types of signs, and this one is the one just direction. And this one would be less invasive, but they would have to put up a new post because that post here is wooden, so they would have to do that. And the third thing, the last thing, I think, the most exciting thing is we have a draft, and I'll pass this around, of the map. And we're gonna get this large map put on a couple of kiosks. We'll have handouts like this, that we can put in the boxes, and we're gonna give handouts to the businesses and to the Virginia Bureau, and we're gonna have a QR code as well. And this is draft, we still need work on this, we're gonna color code them, but everything's marked as far as the degree of difficulty, how long, and Terry Long's done an incredible job with this. And she's worked with Stan a little bit too on this. So we're gonna get that, and we're gonna have that probably next month, and that might cost some money to print those things out, but I understand we can print a lot here, but the large ones, we probably have to send them out and.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have to get them laminated too, but it's we're going to put the topographic on that too. So it's going to be changed a bit. And there's a couple other things we need to put on there. We're gonna move a picnic table. I'm gonna put that on the map. And we're also going to work you could pass it on. We're gonna do a key too. And then, of course, the last thing with the park is it's a long-term project. Brian's still looking, or Brian, he's the chairman, he's still looking at quotes on if we do a handicap dock and correct that. And that might be a long-range project. To be able to
Handicap accessible, John?
Yes. Right now, there's a step on the lip, and it's supposed to be gradual, so you don't have any
Right.
transition.
Right.
And they installed it incorrectly. And he's checked with the company to see if they could come and fix it, or what would be to fix it. I don't think, it's like anything, it's like the website, we're done, it's yours now,
Yeah,
forget
right,
about it.
right.
But anyway, they're, one of the
Well, I
things.
feel like there's a difference.
Yeah.
The website did what they said they were gonna do,
Right.
and we want more. If the dock was installed incorrectly
Yeah.
and we paid
I
them
know,
to install
know.
it as a handicapped accessible ramp and they did not,
Yes,
I feel like that's different than
it is.
the.
It was
That's a
not,
good
it was,
point.
it was not, just so I speak clearly, it was not installed as a handicap accessible dock, first of all, I could.
It was not specified
Sure,
as
but-
ADA
No,
compliant?
No, that was
That's
never,
why we got the grant.
no, that's not true,
It was
the,
free,
what's that?
they just gave it to the town?
No, so when we ended up, the dock, the one thing the Department of Wildlife Resources always said, they never said it would be ADA, they said anything that they do would be barrier free, that's the standard they have.
Okay.
And so what happened with this, we were to get a dock about what, Mr. Bowling, 7 years ago or so.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
got it, so what ended up happening was, they had $15,000 to give us at the time.
No.
They changed the rules, it would have doubled the price to give it to us because of the inspections of the agency, so they canceled it. What happened with this particular thing is we've been in dialogue with them for many years. Out of nowhere, they came up with $50,000 is what this was. And Matt had to spend it on something rather quickly. It was not something that was agreed upon that it would be handicap accessible. That's never been the goal of the project. I would like it to be, we would love it to be handicap accessible, but the funding of it specifically was for a dock.
Yeah.
So, and there was, going back to the issue, I don't think it's fair to say that they installed it incorrectly. I think it's fair to say that when the design was done for the dock, the money was put on the dock. It was not put in the construction. It could have been opted to say, okay, we should spend, instead of buying a $50,000 dock, we should spend $15,000 on the construction of the site. All that to say, I think it's fair to say, if we'd have done it over again, yeah, we could have done it differently. But at the same time, the correction, so Robin Clark is one of the guys who works with, they're called the Wheeling, Virginia Sportsmen.
Right.
When he got involved, so the early stage of Van Cleef, we did not really do a very good job envisioning handicap accessibility. But when we did the second master plan, we did improve handicap accessibility with the idea of making sure that we were going to make the dock as accessible as possible, and also other areas in the park. All that to say, we have something that needs to be corrected, and I'm glad the park is working on it.
That's what he's looking into.
Yeah,
And this
which is
group
great.
comes out of Kentucky or Tennessee or someplace, so they're not gonna come up here to fix it, but they could have, the ramps are too long and they have a step. So one of the suggestions was to put some markers on the steps there, so at least people know that.
Oh, Bill, one last thing to add is, so there, just so y'all know this, there was many of conversation for like 5 years. Should it be a stationary dock or should it be a floating dock? And the reason this was their choice, this was their recommendation from the Department of Wildlife Resources, was the water level changes in the lake. And it could have been easier to make it with a stationary dock. But the problem was you would have to deal with adjusting water levels. So anyways, it was their recommendation. That's why it ended up being a floating dock, which makes it more complicated related to this stuff.
Okay, so it's not handicap accessible.
It was the intention of it to make things, their desire is what's called barrier free.
Area
Now,
free,
we
so
could try to take
It's a little
it,
different.
we could try to take it to a higher level of
Okay.
ADA or other things, but
Okay.
that would be up to us. They
Okay.
gave us the dot, so. to speak.
Okay, I'll have to look up here.
Money was a big driving factor in we get fully handicap accessible.
Right.
And I think it's a real good goal. I think it's a goal. I think
Yeah.
making it ADA accessible, or I think that's
It
an
is.
important
That
goal.
is a
It just
goal. We're
was.
gonna be working towards that.
There was so much different, Mr. Bowling can tell you, we had to, it took what, how many months, even years to get the stinking agreement we had with them
Yeah,
to
we're
get
not
done.
talking about just a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
here. We're talking about tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Because it becomes a maze because you start at the dock and then you work your way up from the parking area, entrance to the dock, on and on and on.
Yeah,
So as we've come along, we've piecemeal, they asked us to add a parking lot, we added a parking lot, we added another parking lot, we eventually opened the second gate, which was, there used to be another gate, Bill, you're familiar with.
Mhm.
Then we ended up creating an area below.
Right.
So all that, there's ideas of bathrooms in the future, there's all kind of things, but
Yeah.
that, at the moment, I'm glad y'all are working on that. That's.
Well, it's gonna be a challenge to do that, but one of the things that came out, we could make it partially handicap accessible, and this guy from the tourist bureaus directing us to some funds that might help make it partially, which would just be gravel, so that people could walk on it and not stumble. He's like, we won't be asphalt, but it could be gravel.
No, I think it's great that you guys are working on
Oh,
it,
yeah.
that's really good.
Good bunch, but anyway, I'll send out the minutes once they're completed. And we're still working on a few things. I think there's some other things we worked on with the Parks and Rec, but that's the primary things we're working on with.
Okay, I saw a sign, talking about signs, I saw a sign over here on East Main Street the other day that I had never seen before. It's one of the brown signs. It says walking trail and has an arrow pointing
Oh, yeah,
to the
yes.
west.
You know, my wife got that going years ago. To tell you the truth, what happened is we have a birding and wildlife area, and it's very small. It goes right behind the ball field, right behind before the.
Maybe you could have used that sign. sometime.
Yeah, take that, but yeah,
It says walking trail,
yeah,
you know,
that's a walking trail there, but it's the birding and wildlife area, right.
I've never seen
It
it.
starts at the community center and goes all the way to the bird box there to the levee, you know.
That's probably why the one at the funeral home says
Yeah.
birding and wildlife. It should have been down at the corner of where the
Yeah.
tavern is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably why, and they just,
yeah,
My favorite sign is right here at the police department. The sign there. If you're coming from Buckingham, you come over a bridge and there's a river, it's called the James River. When you get down to the intersection, police station on the right, the sign says James River and it points down to, the Goku.
yeah.
So you just cross the James River and you see a sign of the James River, well, what in the world's that I just crossed? But I think that's funny.
Melanie, do you have any treasurer's reports stuff?
I spoke to, I gave you guys an email that I received. Excuse me, from, Charlottesville. Regarding our sales tax, the last time we've been paid for sales tax was for the month of September.
What Charlotte, down in our county.
Out in our county, sorry. You know.
It's a loose one, okay.
Approximately $4,600 a month is what we get from them, and that's probably a
It's a
little
loose
bit
pay.
more for
Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at it.
Christmas. It puts a fine on us that we can't get it, we're clear back in September, we haven't been paid for October, November, December, or January. So I've been trying to get this Troy Lane, he's a deputy commissioner, for the tax side, to try to push it through a little faster. And I guess they're telling him there's reports that has to be filled out, and if they don't get the reports in time, then they can't pay us our money, and
But this is months,
Yeah,
right? Last time we were paid, it was in September
it was
or October,
October for
for
September.
September.
Yeah,
So October, November, December,
so you're
January.
looking about 18,000, if not a little more, that they still owe us.
So the county needs to come and fix this. How do we do that? Mr. Bowling, do we have any recourse
Yeah,
here?
sure you do. You just write a letter from Javier to the county executive asking if he can help get it done a little more promptly than it's being done.
Yeah, new supervisor help us.
That's what I was
And
thinking.
then copy the new supervisor. That's an excellent point.
I mean, I was hoping he'd be
Email.
here tonight.
I was.
But I think you want to use the county executive too, so that it gets more quickly to the
Top down instead of bottom.
finance department section where it's being done, and
Right.
attach this email to the email. It's just a simple email, that should get it done. Or at least through a minute. I don't know if that'll get it done, because this is a recurring problem.
I know, but it poses a huge cash flow
Oh, yeah.
problem for the town.
And this email, did you read the email?
It doesn't make sense.
First of all, I take issue with, regardless, I expect the payment should have been processed by this point. I'm attempting to get confirmation of that, but if it has not been paid, I will see if I can expedite. As if he's saying we're lying about
Right.
not getting paid.
Right.
I'll double check, but I think you got paid already.
But you know what I took offense with, I talked to him today, was you told me it was gonna be paid. I still have not received my money.
Yeah, but you did.
Oh, yeah, this is January 23rd. This
He's
email.
not helping for whatever reason. He has more important things to do, so you need to get somebody else's attention. But, don't have Javier write him or talk to him. You try, just go to a different source and try that.
Yeah, top down is better.
But this has happened before and.
But this is 4 months now. This is
You know,
ridiculous.
This is not bad compared to some of these. I mean, you've got the same problem with the county clerk's office receipts and it's kind of similar. It's different personnel involved.
Still
It's
puts a
rough.
hurt on the cash flow
Also,
management.
you have the same problem with getting your Scottsville versus county fines reimbursed.
I don't know if we get those everyone.
Yeah, we worked on that, and that finally got
Yeah.
straightened out. But for a while there, they were 4 months, we've been doing well.
What's the implication if you, I mean, can you go to the press with this or can you?
Well, I think you just go to the county executive and your local supervisor. That seems to be sufficient. I don't see any problem.
Well, I hope that is sufficient, but if it's not sufficient, then what?
Well, then you're gonna be kind of at a rock and a hard place. I mean, you have to, you're.
What do I call the media or post it on social media that we're not getting our money?
Yeah, but
Shame.
why would you?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can do that.
A
but
few
you
years
gotta be
ago,
careful
they,
what you wish.
said, we overpaid you $100,000 and we'd like it back now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were that.
it's like, yeah, I don't think so.
Like your check.
No, they get.
Sure,
well, isn't that the case? They still owe them $100,000?
I think they settled for half of that or something.
Yeah, so,
but it was their error.
Yeah, it was their error. They were supposed to be diverting money to the county, they were diverting it to us. And we ended up with,
it was their error, but this county, Scottsville wasn't entitled to the money.
Well,
That's the problem.
and as I understand
That's
it,
what I meant by saying, be careful what you wish for.
as I understand it, Melody, we have no formula to check on whether we're getting the right amount of
That was the
money
next
too,
thing I was
right?
gonna say. I get no backup for this check. I just get a check for this amount of money with no.
Well, that's like what Airbnb is doing now too with our
Right.
taxes. We're not getting any
Right.
kind of information with
And
it.
this is
Here's a check, trust us that we're paying you the right amount.
Exactly,
Right.
and this is gonna put a squeeze on us. It's already putting a squeeze on.
Well, we don't have the volunteers, but I really, and it's been proposed many times to have a financial oversight committee, which would really just focus on finances and finances alone. We got 2 or 3 people working on this, but if you had somebody really focusing on this, that and we do a little bit of financial with government service though, but we can't take this on. I mean, it would be a specific committee to really do that, and we could be on it, or somebody could be on it.
We need somebody though with some connection somewhere in the
Yeah.
country, honestly,
Yeah.
because we need this money, right? We don't have a big enough budget and a big enough bankroll to actually take this hit continually.
This is all.
Okay, let me give a real quick mayor's report. On the 23rd of last month, we had the third graders from Scottsville Elementary School here, and that was really a fun time. They learned about the comp plan, they elected council members, they elected a mayor, they sat up front, they passed the resolutions, and they just had a ball. And then they went on the tour of the levy. And,
They love that gavel.
yeah, they had a really good time, and I think they learned a lot. And Eileen's heard me say this a couple of times already, but Lincoln asked the group, "What do you like about Scottsville?" And this one little boy sitting right up here, he had been elected to be a council member. He said, "Well, when we moved here, I was made felt welcome."
Oh,
A third grader said that, and I said, "Well, that's what we want to be known for." Then on 2 days later, we went to the elementary school for sort of like a meet and greet with local officials, which Ed Brooks from the community center. We met the principal, some of the vice principal, the music director, art director, and several other people that volunteer a lot of their time and effort to the community. So that was a nice get together. Couple of Fridays ago, Javier and I sat down with our maintenance department and took care of council's wishes in that respect. And I've been coordinating with a lady named Abby Campbell, who is the marketing director for Tiger Fuel. She tells me first part of March, that's pretty close, but she's telling me the first part of March. So we're working on a grand opening ribbon cutting event for that with the chamber. And so I had this brainstorm, since the musical group at Scottsville Elementary are the Tiger Tones. The Tiger Tones are going to perform at the grand opening of the Tiger Fuel
I
Station.
love it.
Oh, that's cute.
they named it after Scottsville.
So that's basically, what I've been doing, and
Do we have any update on the new restaurant?
I haven't heard anything.
Are they still waiting just on permits or?
Well, the last thing I heard, and I don't remember who told me, was that they were waiting for the fire suppression system to get installed. It was a delay in delivery, and as soon as that was installed, the health department could come in and inspect everything. I don't remember who told me that, but I don't know how accurate that was.
Okay.
Somebody
curious.
told me, I, just didn't hear it on the street, but I know there's a lot of people interested in that. Then, of course, they're working on the old pool hall next to the post office that's
Yeah,
gonna be a
that's
rehab
there.
center. And
What?
Physical therapy.
Physical therapy rehab center. And then I understand the group is.
The cop thought something way different when you said rehab center.
You got some candidates for that?
Excuse me, what?
This is rehabilitation from injuries and old bones.
Different kind of.
Physical therapy.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's pretty much that. Mr. Bowling, you have anything we need to know about?
I was gonna bring up about the zoning thing, which I've already talked about, so I saved you on that. The other things, I had some involvement with political signs, which are always
Yeah,
the sticky wicket.
Yeah, I got
Tends
it.
to fall out with political signs, but I think that we discovered that the principal problem was in the county rather than the town. and
Yes.
that-
yeah, and
That resolved that problem, and then there was a state enabling statute which trumped any town requirement, which saved the day for your old ordinance requirement.
so,
You may have-
county visited the man on the corner up there, and he scaled back his display bits.
So that was the county supervisor did that. Who contacted me about it.
All right, Melody, do you have anything else for us before we move on?
No, I think it's good.
Okay. You want to get item number A in here? Or something else?
Thanks, man. I'm going to rehab.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
I'm glad it's close to me.
I was gonna say, man, we can't use it
Oh, yeah,
anymore than that.
I need a joint.
Oh. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Keep me posted. If you get the badge, whatever you need for Barnett, then we can do it next Tuesday.
My plan is-
Tuesday.
Plan is to do it on Tuesday,
Yeah.
because he's off after that.
Keep us posted, so keep Javier posted, so, well, keep Melody posted, because Javier will be here, so she'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I was planning on putting on the agenda for Tuesday
Okay.
with the Barnett retirement.
Okay.
Could have just about everything.
All right, thank you.
When's Javier done?
Well, welcome. It's good to see you again.
Thank
And, we understand you have a potential project in mind here that you might want a little help on.
Yes, so there, I think Javier, updated all of you, last time on the briefing for the book festival. I'd like to, have, it says on the paper April 21st, but I corrected it to, it's going to be on April 20th instead. So it'll be on a Saturday. And it's called the Scottsville Literary Festival. So it's spelled like Scottsville, but instead of the last ville, it turns into literary instead. And it's in honor of National Book Day, and I plan for there to be authors to sign and sell their books here, and also to speak on, have a panel to speak on how they get published, what is the publishing process like, what's the writing process like, and to answer questions from people in town. And Miss Meredith has very kindly helped me a lot with getting authors for the events and ideas. We had our first roundtable discussion with some community leaders in town, such as SCAN, the library, and others. There's also going to possibly be food trucks. Javier and I are working on that. And some businesses like Baines are going to do literary themed treats for the day. And there will be other activities for the kids, like a literary character, possibly the Cat in the Hat or something, reads to the kids. Thank you. And there will be something for everyone. There's also I would like there also to be a literary costume contest. And first prize winner might get a, Baines has graciously offered to have a gift card that can be possibly given away as a prize. And Mr. Mayor, if you're available that day, I would really love it if you could present that award to the winner of the literary costume contest. But if you're not, I completely understand.
I was thinking if Mr. Mayor was available, because we discussed having different, I don't mind if I
Of course.
butt in, but as long as we're putting the mayor on.
I'm not wearing the bee costume.
No, you don't have to, you don't have to be me or the cat in the hat. We were talking about like at different crossings, having people like in costume, like when, there's gonna be events
That's a
at the
great
pavilion
idea.
and at the library and at Baines and at Victory Hall, and just have like people pointing people in the right
I
direction
love
in
that.
costume. And it occurred to me the other day that you might make a pretty passable Mark Twain.
Oh, Mark Twain. Got the mustache.
Think of that, something
Just
to
a vast.
think about.
Yeah.
Pocket watch.
Yeah, glad to help out any way I can. Is Megan England still around?
She's already confirmed, she's on board, yeah.
And then there was a lady from Buckingham that I interviewed one time for an article. She wrote I'll try to go back and find
Was
that.
it with Miss Yak, Joanne Yak?
No, she's a history book, pretty much. This
she
is
missed the
another
bucket
lady that wrote
history.
Well, she
About Glenmore,
wrote,
the one who wrote about Glenmore?
No,
No,
this
that's
lady
Slides.
wrote a fiction novel that takes place down at Columbia Beach.
Slim,
Yeah,
working on that one. I haven't heard back from her, but I have contacted her.
yeah.
And Amber McBride, yeah,
Oh,
I actually, I'm sorry, I'm
No,
stepping
no.
on your toes now. I started that as a joke about Mark Twain. Anna and I, between Anne and myself, we figure we know the most, I mean, between Baines and the library, like getting
You're
in
gonna get the
contact. for-
library involved.
The library's involved, yeah. Anne and I are gonna meet
They were
this
at the
week
meeting, right?
to compare notes on who we invited, but I've sent out an email to 15 different authors and I've gotten a lot of
John
probablys
Grisham.
and I got 2 definite yeses.
We should.
Yeah, call John Grisham.
He's on my list.
All right, good.
So is Dave Matthews, because he wrote a book also.
All right.
And we were kind of joking that we should get Dolly Parton or LeVar Burton to come.
See, now Dolly Parton's Imaginary Library.
Yep,
The Lions Club supporting that, and there's gonna be a open house at the library to promote that on March the 16th.
yes, we were talking about that. We're not gonna get them, but we're gonna try.
Right.
We definitely won't get them if we don't try.
Right.
I love Dolly. I'm partial to reading Rainbow. I would love to get LeVar Burton, but we're gonna try for LeVar Burton, Dolly Parton, Dave Matthews, John
Hey.
Grisham.
Send it out there.
Can you imagine if we got yeses from everybody? That would be amazing.
That would be.
You got Ruth Klipstein on your
Oh,
list.
great. Yeah, she could. No,
This
this
is Scottsville,
I don't have Ruth on there.
and then there's a lady that did the Esmont book.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that would sound great. I think, we'll, town would want to support this. We can put it on the agenda for next, meeting. And vote an appropriation of some type.
Yeah, I think it seems
You
like.
you have a small budget listed
Seems
here.
like
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. So Javier and I have discussed the budget and I'd like to start out really small since this is my first ever event and B, the first event for Scottsville. So I'd like the event to be set between $200 to $300. So I'd like to keep it within the 250
Yeah, that's
mark, but there's nothing that should be super duper expensive. I think everything, I think what's gonna be the most expensive is like Javier and I are trying to get banners for the town to put up possibly at the pavilion and maybe by Tiger Fuel.
I was just curious, so it could be the building.
Oh,
It's gonna
there's
be all
4
Oh, it's gonna be-
places.
okay, where's that? Is that in here? Maybe I missed it.
Oh, no, that was, when this was written, it was still
Oh,
sort of.
yeah,
So 4 places, the library,
So there's gonna sort of be all over, but our main places are gonna be here upstairs, because downstairs is, the persimmon tree players are.
Oh, okay.
So, so here at Victory Hall, the pavilion, the library and Bates.
And Bates, oh.
So where is it? I'm sorry.
So the 4 main places that the event is gonna be is the pavilion, Baines, the library, and Victory Hall in this upstairs room because downstairs will be occupied that day.
Where will the children's? be at?
And
The
if
children's
so,
will probably be at like between the library and James.
Okay, is that, I think that's a big draw. A lot of families.
Yeah.
Bring their kids and see the characteristics.
So the event is not free,
I think this is wonderful.
Thank
Not
you.
that, but I think, I'm not sure, we don't have, I don't think we have a, event in the spring. We have some, 2 in the summer, we have 1 in the winter. And I'm not sure if we have any others, but it's good to have them every season of the year, I think, so I think this is a great, venture.
Thank you.
You're also gonna have a raffle.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you all a question about, so The raffle this year, I am going to try to raise money for a little free library, so they sort of, they look like little tiny houses and.
Oh, I see those.
Yeah.
The little kiosk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Take a
little
book, leave a book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try to raise money for one to put in Bruce Park. And if I can get enough money for two,
That's a
would
good place.
two be possible? Cause another place I'm working with Javier and Boys and Girls Club in Albemarle County to put one by the in Dorrier Park. So one can be for the kids and one can be for adults, YA, that kind of thing. That's sort of my questioning. So my question, I guess, is if I can get enough money for two in the raffle, would you all be okay with there being two free libraries in town?
Well, the Bruce Park one sounds really good for me. That, you know, anything with Dory Park, as I realize, you know, you gotta jump through the hoops to get there. We try to get a spray park there, and so I would
Bruce
think
Park.
Bruce Park, well, maybe downstairs here. They used to have something down here. During COVID, they had some little bit of change in books down here.
Yeah.
Maybe below in the original where the bulletin board is.
I didn't know that. I only
Yeah.
knew about the four places that, or I think three places that Javier told me about were Bruce Park, Canal Basin, those are public to the, or those are for the town, and then what's the other one?
The butterfly park.
I'd say right below here would be a great place. It's protected and Bruce Park's protected.
Yeah, Bruce Park would
Those,
be the
that's,
best.
Bruce Park doesn't have anything there. They used to have a bulletin board there and that was.
What happened to the bulletin board?
I just got into disrepair. and
The whole park got into disrepair.
Yeah.
It needs, it used to have,
It was really pretty at
oh,
one
it's
point.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
There's the garden box out there,
Yeah,
because we could maybe, if you could get him to donate it, talk real nice to him, we could put doors
yeah,
on
that's
the
really great.
cabinets.
Don't we
And
have an extra?
put shelves and stuff in there.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we might be able to get the,
We're gonna put
either the
that.
Boy Scout
Yeah.
to help with a project
That's
like
already
that too.
marked up though for
Mark,
that.
oh, it's
That
got,
needs to be protected.
it's got a home.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
It says,
Yeah, they do a good
Ladies
job.
Park Home or something.
So this might be a sidebar for our next meeting,
Yeah.
but if we
But they've done
charge
projects for us.
the
Because I'm thinking July 4th, I mean. people
vendors,
are
you know, like craft vendors and stuff like that, like $10 a table, that could go towards a lot of money.
Yeah, unfortunately, I spoke with James Walker about charging vendors and I think for the first year, I wouldn't want to charge anybody,
I agree. It should
especially
be free.
because it's like the writers are expecting that they won't have to pay anything either, and I
Yeah,
don't want there to be
I-
any
I agree.
point of
what I
contention.
was just telling your mom, last September, Carrie, it was caring for creatures, basically did a pet thing over at the pavilion on a Sunday afternoon. You need to have it printed on where your events are, a little bit about the authors, and sell ads. You can make a ton of money selling ads and something like
Yeah,
that.
go around to the local businesses and say, do you want to advertise for this event? Cost, $25 per ad.
Get your business card and a check for $25 and you blow it up and you put it on.
That's a great idea.
Isn't that a great
We can
idea?
Ask every author who says yes to send a little
Send a
bio
bio.
or something in it,
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah, featured
great.
authors
Yeah.
and then all the events. And the back part of it is all ads based on their logo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You could really do some,
yeah, that would be great. This month, oh,
Mhm.
You're part of it.
I-
You're
I am.
spearheading that.
Print that.
She put that in.
Amelie is spearheading it.
But I mean, it's a part of the town. You're the person.
Well, yeah, didn't we talk about that
Yeah.
last meeting, that I was gonna
Until-
be the
yes,
event
yeah.
person, yeah.
Okay,
So,
and
for
What's the-
this one, yeah.
Anne from the library,
Ray, she's great.
Stevie from Scan.
and Kathy from Chamber of Commerce.
Ray, good.
And
Sounds like a good bunch.
and our next meeting is on February 29th, so if anyone is interested in attending then as well.
But only one other person, because I'll be there, and if there's three of us.
Well,
we
that's
have to-
right.
We have to
That's
take
right. I
minutes.
forgot. I'm so sorry.
Where do you have your meeting?
At the library, in the little.
Room on the side.
Community. The other person that we really should get roped into is when you and I went to the elementary school, I met remember the PTO
Mhm.
Yeah, she
president?
said she will try to be there. next
She'll be at the
time.
next
She'll
one
try to
because
be there.
one of the things she talked about is getting scholastic books in here, which would be
Do
huge.
they not have a Scholastic book fair?
I don't think they do that
I didn't
anymore.
think there.
They're-
So this would be
That was
a
the
great
best day at
opportunity.
school.
I know, right?
I love the book
I tell
fair.
you, I used to work those, and I took a lot of money with me, because there was some kids that just didn't have the money to buy.
Right.
So I bought a lot of books.
I'll tell you what, that was all through elementary school. Oh, book fair day and begging my mom, I'd have my little.
I loved going with my girls. Oh, we could get this one.
He's 20.
Yeah, so I think Scholastic would be a good target. Anyway. go
All right,
ahead.
we'll get this on,
I did that, there's a.
on
certain-
the regular
they do-
agenda
they
for
do-
next week and
They do a certain.
get it passed.
Okay.
All right, appreciate your time and
Thank you,
appreciate your
ma'am.
effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, you want to tell us what, item 3B is all about?
Dates and times for meetings.
3B, okay.
Pretty self.
We had talked about changing the different times and meeting days, times, earlier. And there is a calendar in here for, we were afraid that it was gonna overlap with SCAN. The things that they were doing downstairs and, we didn't want to use the
When
drums
they have
while
the
we were.
drum lessons.
Yes,
Oh, my goodness.
You've never been up here for a meeting when they've had the drum.
Oh,
lessons.
yeah, I have. Not for
Well,
a
their
meeting.
music lessons are at 3:15, so if we switch to
It is.
Tuesday, that should.
Well,
Everybody,
Based on
everybody
the
wiped
noise
that one time.
Was it requested? Presentation sheet.
So I like to keep it like it is.
Let me,
She's doing
can I take the lead on this
Yeah,
one?
let Mr.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Mr. Payne have the
Very,
floor.
very professional.
Yeah, well, that's a stranger.
Mr. Payne.
Okay, so the question is, when do we meet? And for the year 2024, we have to postpone 4 meetings. We've already postponed one, we're postponing one next week. And I carried this out 4 years. Next year, we'll have to postpone 3 meetings, and the year after 3, but in 27, you're back to 4. So in the next 4 years, we gotta postpone 14 meetings. Now, that's not a lot of meetings because I think it's, 96 meetings? This is workshops and council meetings. So 14 out of 96 doesn't sound too bad. Meredith had come up, and correct me if I'm wrong, she and I just had a short conversation about instead of the second and third Monday or whatever day, skip a week. And I like that idea because it gives staff and council and anybody else, maybe the public, time to think about what we've talked about. And maybe you might even get the minutes on time. So you have 2 weeks instead of 1. If you went to the second and fourth. It does not conflict with Albemarle County because they're first and third. But if you go to a Wednesday meeting, this year, we would only have to postpone 2. Juneteenth and Christmas. And that's it. And then for the next 3 years, none.
See, some of us I have 2 meetings on Wednesdays during the month. The second and the fourth.
What are they, sir?
Lions Club.
Javier has
Javier
something
has
too.
housing authority on one Wednesday
Yeah.
of the month.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know what calendar you were looking at. but on my calendar says that there are, after next Monday, there are no more Monday holidays that will cause us to have to postpone a meeting. There are 2 work sessions for the rest of the year.
Well, I'm talking about work sessions and council.
Now, I had to talk with Javier about this, and his position, and I understand this completely, is that when we have a work session and the council asks him to go find out something and he has to go to Albemarle for the information, and Albemarle is notoriously slow in getting back to him. If you go any further in the week, he's not gonna have any chance of getting you an answer by the following week. Everybody, like, all of us get up on Monday morning, we think, this is what I'm gonna do this week.
Right.
He sits out his week just like we do, and if on Monday at a work session, you ask him to get some sort of statistics or some sort of other information from Albemarle County, he may be able to get it by next week, but if you go to Wednesday and say,
You got 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like the idea of skipping.
I don't like it because on the last week of the month, I don't have that many meetings, okay? I like to have that as my 1 week out of the month where I can kind of plan on doing stuff for me.
One thing, Mr. Mayor, I will say, I'm with you on wanting to stay to Monday. The only day I could flex would be Tuesday. I couldn't do Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but I could do Tuesday. I don't want to do
Oh.
Tuesday, but I could do Tuesday.
Well, and the downside of having more time is like, there's more time to sort of forget what we talked about at work session, I can see both sides of this. I'm not, I'm not saying, I'm just presenting the alternate viewpoint of you go 2 weeks and we've had work session discussion, then we're voting and, a lot happens in 2 weeks for all of us.
My main thing about skipping a week was Javier's conflict.
Yeah.
With that second, I was saying, well, we could do the 1st and the 3rd, or. But,
Well, it would be
yeah, I'm
Tuesday,
not
Thursday.
married to it.
And the thing that, to go back to what you just said, Eddie, I haven't thought about that. I think there's points to be made, whether it's, 1st and 3rd, 2nd and 3rd, 2nd and 4th. I just haven't thought about that before. So there's merits
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
way.
there
I
are.
like that.
Well, I'm not I can't think of the word anyway. I'm just throwing this out.
Yeah,
there.
I like it. I'm sure.
You're not married to it.
if-
It's just like,
yes.
here's a viewpoint.
If you wanna do it, Sunday after church, that's fine with me. 2 o'clock in the morning is fine with me. But, just to, throw it out there, if we ever decided to meet on Wednesdays, we would have to postpone just 2 this year, and for the next 3 years, none. And if you went every other second and fourth on a Wednesday, you'd have 2 in the next 4 years postponed. 2 as opposed to 14. So that's what I wanted to bring up. That's all.
I like Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday for me is not an option.
I like Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
like
think
I say, I have-
every other Wednesday would be good, I think. The thing is too, I like
I'm
to,
gonna say it again.
Dan can't
Then I
meet
won't
on
be here.
Wednesday.
I won't be here on a Wednesday.
any Wednesday?
And the mayor has conflicts too, so,
I have Lions Club on the 2nd and the 4th
and
Wednesday.
Javier had conflicts.
Well, how about the 1st and 3rd Wednesday then? That would work for you.
I can do a Monday or Tuesday. That's it for me in terms of my flexibility.
I can do Monday or Tuesday.
Well, let me ask,
Well, I could go Tuesday, but I'd like to, actually, I do the other issue, I'd like to do it earlier, I'd like to do 6 or 6:30. Maybe
Well, I know, let me
Tuesday
tell
at
you
6,
why I-
Tuesday at 6:30.
I don't want it any earlier than 7. If you go out here any night at 6 o'clock, you see a stream of cars, people trying to get home, and I think you do a big disservice to the public. If you have a 6 o'clock meeting and they haven't even gotten home from work yet and continue to turn around and come back to a meeting that they may want to attend.
Well, on the other hand, there's a lot of people who like to see it early, especially on nights like this. And also, I think about our staff who have to spend a couple hours, after 5, and Javier and Melody have to be here for 2 hours. If we had them at 5 or 6, they could be done and go home.
And I will just say again, for me, I could not do any earlier than 6:30, but I will say, I agree with the mayor. Think of it this way. everybody knows we have a traffic kind of disaster on 20 at the moment. And if any citizen works in Charlottesville, which we have a fair amount of people that do, it really is kind of a disservice to them to honestly, what on a personal level, it's nice to get it over with earlier, so to speak, but for citizens to be here, 6:30 or 7 is the only, and I would say 7 o'clock is reasonable for a person to have dinner, come to a meeting, or just barely get home and come to a meeting, but meet earlier, I think is unreasonable.
And I told Bill, in summertime, June, July, August, September, that's the cool of the day. If you got anything to do outside, 6 o'clock is a nice time to do it as opposed to 2.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
It's a good thought. I mean, it's something we can certainly think about and,
second and fourth Monday, not too bad. It gives you that 2-week break.
How about
Yes.
second and fourth Tuesday, what we talked about that would free up those times. If you-
I didn't break it down. I don't think we'd have to postpone much.
Yeah,
I mean, you've only got just a few holidays like, Juneteenth, whatever that falls on. That's
that's on Wednesday.
usually on the
That's
middle of-
Bateau Day, it's on Wednesday.
yeah, this year, and,
we could work around, we don't have to lock into it. If there's something coming up, we could say, okay, this month it's gonna be, this day,
well,
I don't know. I don't have a strong feeling. I mean, it sounds like though, for right now, convenience says that we leave it the way it is, so.
Well, the one thing to follow up on you too, if we do make a change, whatever we do, we probably really need to stay with, because people will understand over time, whatever we do. So if we change it too much, so even for example,
Yeah.
if it's Monday and it's a federal holiday and we move it, people kind of understand that, but if we don't want to do it like 2 months, it's on a Monday, 2 months, it's on a Tuesday, whatever. We want to, whatever we do is our new time that we're
Oh,
gonna,
yeah.
whatever it is, if we do something.
Well, the other thing is, when I did some of they don't have to be at the work session could be at a different time, but we're not worried about the public for the work session. They're not coming to the work session.
It's true.
And so that could be an earlier time or a different time. And then the other one could be, later or at a regular time. But, the work session, that's just for us, really.
Yeah,
I would say the same thing. I can't do earlier than 6:30, so.
Well, 6:30, I go at 6:30. I'm cool with that. I think that'd be good. But what day, we don't have a date now.
So,
What
something
day?
to think about.
What day though? We still don't have the day locked in, but
no, it's.
We're
it
trying to
stays
get-
at
we're
the
trying to
half
get
an
away.
hour. I mean, is it worth it?
we're trying to get away from Monday, right? We're trying to get.
I don't know, I just,
I mean,
I
it makes
saw this on the agenda, and
Yeah,
I said, well, let's look at it.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Well,
Well, another thing about it would be if there's a way, this is one of these ones. It's, how hard is it, Melody, to survey like the people in the town to say if we came up with like a couple options that, would you rather us meet at 3 AM? Or would you rather us meet at?
I don't think it's worth doing that. There's like 10 people who show up to the meetings, why would you survey the whole town? I think,
I mean, you could put it out on social media and say,
Yeah.
what do you think?
we get a lot of apathetic people here who
Right.
don't care,
yeah. Unless it's a hot ticket item, then they come out of the woodwork. Well, we can keep talking about it anyhow, and, I don't think we've talked about it.
We haven't, Alex isn't here either. We've asked him what he thinks, but,
Well, we got 3 people on council that work, have regular jobs,
Yeah.
2 of them a year. And then we got 3 that are retired.
yeah, I could do it any day,
You know,
but I'd like to do it earlier.
I'm flexible as a rubber band, but if I was working, and had to come from Charlottesville and be here at 6 or 6:30, I'd be pressed.
My grandfather used to call them gum bands.
Gum, yeah. I've
I've heard
heard
that term too, gum bands.
Well, let's think about it, but at least through the end of this month and bring it up again at the work session next month and just make a decision. If we need to make a
See if there's
decision
any change,
one way or the other next month.
maybe get Alex input too, see if he has any, I don't think he cares really.
Committee charges and responsibilities, is that something you wanted to continue?
Well, I think we kind of went over that.
Yeah.
The only, the one that, for some reason Javier created a different one and he didn't have the provisions right and maybe that's for his reference. But that was, the one that, you know, that we did at Government Services is the one we proposed because it just simplifies things and, you know, it won't have to be changed every month or two. Anyway, that's what that's all about.
I can't remember if I agreed to beautification last month, did I?
You kind of did.
My name's
No,
on there,
no,
but I don't remember,
no,
I
no,
remember the
no,
events,
this-
but I don't remember
We
beautification.
never went over that. This is grandfathered in because, and that's why this version is good for him, for his reference, but you're never been officially taken off that. And just like Alex hasn't been taken off the events committee and Ron hasn't
Oh,
been
I
taken off
see.
the economic development committee unless we.
I see, I just.
These are all, now the only one we
Approved
officially
my
did
name.
was Eddie, you know, but everything else is set, so those, the idea with this, the document that the government service did is to leave the committees, and if somebody wanted, and to have a contact person. In case we wanted to start them up again, and so we could change the contact person or committees, because they don't meet, they haven't met in a while, but they serve great functions in town, just like you've stepped up to the events. And maybe you want to be the events person, we could nominate you as that. It would be good to have that because, you know, who, I don't know, maybe you know, Ron, who coordinates events for like, you know, 4th of July and the Bateau Festival and the Chamber of Commerce thing, the Christmas. Who, do we have a town person that does that?
Not one.
Not really. Usually what happens is like for Bateau, whoever's gonna be in charge of that event or any event, and they need help from the town, they'll come see the town administrator, and then they'll get their heads together. Do we need to get SCAN involved? And then they'll
Right.
reach out to them, and it's just like,
So we don't have a set person.
Well, I used to
I
do
know Javier
events.
does.
basically Javier is our.
I
I
did
know, but I think we need
that
somebody.
show that year that it poured. That was my first event. I was brand new to town council. I was brand new to the events committee.
You were overwhelmed.
And I was overwhelmed. And one of the bands didn't show up. None of the vendors showed up. A couple vendors who did show up went down to where it used to be at the boat landing as opposed to Canal
Canal
Basin
Bay.
Square where it got changed to, and it was pouring rain. I just cried.
Well,
I was
How would
like,
you feel about being maybe not the committee person, but the contact person for events?
I'm a little more
Because I think that the public needs somebody to
adjusted
go.
to the
Well,
I could
events
go
now,
to
yeah.
Javier, but he's not always around. It'd be good to say, okay, well, here's our contact
Oh, I
person.
thought we did
Yeah,
that
it's
last
always
week.
around.
Alex
So
was,
we can-
Alex was events.
Right, but maybe
now
you
he's there.
could, you can step.
They should go to Javier and then there should be some kind of representative from council with
Right.
each of the events, right? I think to have it distributed and not have it a one person means that nobody's,
So do we?
Burn
one
it.
by one?
yeah, so if they come to Javier and Javier says, Meredith, can you take this one? Or somebody wants to volunteer, then.
I will say, I think there should be an events person.
I do too.
Only because I'll tell you, when I did Bateau, when I did 4th of July, when I was doing events. Coordinating with all of the vendors, coordinating with all the bands, getting like, it did take a committee of people as opposed, like,
Here's the
And that
problem
puts a
with
lot
that.
on Javier
Here's the
too.
problem, though, if it's not a town representative, then somebody, you know, we have a lot of community leaders with a lot of powerful personalities. We need to make sure everybody stays in the same
Well, what it-
direction.
I mean, why would that committee, we've always had events.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, for.
Yeah, that-
for
I'm not saying not to
decades.
have a committee, but do we have a volunteer for that committee?
I thought last week I was.
It's gonna be a-
Ron went
Let's
down and
officially
asked
make her-
everybody
Okay, I'm
to go.
sorry.
Take Alex
That's
off.
okay.
I
I
lost
mean,
track.
like, the committee hires the porta potties.
That's fine.
And does,
I'm all
you
for
know,
it.
getting all,
do.
So,
okay.
Because
I thought you were trying, because
No, I
last
thought
week we asked everybody what committee they wanted.
I was
thought it
just,
kind of fun.
I did not remember
Yeah.
that, I'm recalling it now. And I thought we needed an interim solution in the event of that, which is why I spoke up.
Well, I
We're
think
good.
next week we should take Alex off and make her that. And I think we really do need because I know he was overwhelmed at 4th of July. He's got to do this, this, and this, and he needs support from somebody who can do that kind of thing.
Well, wait a minute, that we're gonna move it from Alex to Mary,
Right.
Yeah,
right?
because Alex then went to ARB and then we
Yeah.
just kind of.
Yeah,
haven't
he's
had
still
that.
officially on
Okay.
there. Now, we still don't, we'll take you off the beautification. We won't have anybody on the beautification committee now. But maybe we could turn that over to.
No, I think that would be great for me.
Yeah.
And I gave your name to somebody today for a beautification project.
I
You
will
wanna do that
help,
one too?
I will help do that. I
I'll do-
think beautification doesn't necessarily have to be a committee.
No.
But I will go and
Project.
plant the flowers and projects and stuff like
well,
that, that's fine.
We get this new
This
meetings
is,
first, so
this
that'll help.
project will not involve a whole lot of time, just some advisory capacity.
Yeah.
I'm on it,
That'd
okay.
be great, that'd be great.
All right, let's move on to proposed policy for resignations on boards and commissions.
Okay, I could go to this one, again, Javier put a second one in, but the one that is the short one is the one that the government service recommended because it's simplified
Is that
and it's
version A?
streamlined. But
Version A.
Now, the short one is version B.
I guess it's B, the B,
Second one.
in other words, the main thing is that once it's accepted, once they resign, we don't have to have a separate vote and take another month to get it done. So we can, to move it along quickly, so there's not 2 or 3 months lag in replacing somebody. So,
Yeah,
and I don't know if even a vote matters, but if you say, well, we're not gonna accept your resignation,
Yeah.
they did that during the
Can't
revolution.
force them on. You
They
can't
did that
force-
during the Revolutionary War with Ben Franklin. He wanted to resign and he said, no, you can't resign.
Well, sometimes people they're not necessarily sold on resign. They might think that's the option if people talk to them. I've talked people out of resigning.
Yeah.
Well, let's not do that.
I mean, it's.
No, I think it is.
I don't-
Wait a minute, let's talk about this,
No,
because I agree with Dan on this one. I think there should be like a 2-day provision,
This is-
because if somebody's critical and they just acted out of emotion, I would want a couple days for this critical person to go talk to them and say, hey, please reconsider, come back to the table. Then within 2 days, if they haven't changed their mind, fine.
Yeah, I
move
don't
forward.
agree with that.
Most
If
of the
somebody
time-
makes a decision, we shouldn't try to thwart. You know, I've had people who resign and you say, well, why you resign? Don't resign, don't resign. And then they're worthless anyway, because their
Well-
heart's not in it.
That's not,
Now, it's one thing, see, the verbal or in writing is where we come into a thing here. If I go home and I sit down
Yes.
and I think about it and I write a letter of resignation and I do, that's one thing. If I got into an argument right now and I was like, screw this, I quit
Right.
and walk out the door.
Yeah.
Are you saying
Like
then
that's-
like, no, well, she's gone.
that's what
That's
it is,
it.
you'd be
Like-
immediate,
Like in
gone.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
What? I didn't quit.
When George comes back. So I don't like that verbal. It is different.
Okay, right.
If somebody
Well-
goes home,
Good
thinks
point.
about it,
Yeah.
drafts a letter, reads the letter, decides to send the letter, that's
Good
no
point.
longer doing it out
What
of
if they
emotion.
don't do the letters? What do you do later?
If somebody says, I wanna quit, we
Say,
can
write
say,
a letter.
can you just give that to us in writing, even if it's an email that says, this is my official resignation. Tell them
We
we
need
want,
that
just
by-
tell them we want it in
We
writing.
need it by whatever, so we're not dragging.
No, you just say it has to be in writing. We need it official.
Okay.
And if they don't send it, then they're not considered.
So I have to, yeah. So
Resign.
this needs to really go to the sheriff people,
I think if
especially those two, the planning commission and ARB, to make sure that they apply this policy, so.
Well, we
and
have to
Javier too.
vote on the policy.
And Javier too, right, if it goes like that, because I think that they need to hold them accountable and say, look, you're resigning, okay, can you just write me an email?
Well, then
Yeah.
it should say all resignations should be in, in.
Yeah, I
writing.
think if we just take out verbal,
Right.
Okay.
then
Alright.
I'm good with.
I mean, we want to be a gentle town, not a mean town, so to speak. Some
Yeah.
of this sounds mean, to be honest with you. So it sounds meanly intended. And as we were through some rough times as a town, we want to be gentle with people. We want to be, if there's hot emotion, say
Yeah.
this. Yes, if you really don't want to serve, please, go do something else. Most of the time, we're shorthanded, so it's
Right.
helpful to help encourage people through difficulty. And it's,
Keep it in
again, we
mind.
all have
Right.
moments where we're frustrated. We all have moments where we're like, heck with this, I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah.
It just, we want to just be kind to each other, that's all.
I've
And I
been
think it's
talked out
helpful
of
to
it.
have some,
even in writing, right? We need you, please come back, we consider, you know.
I have, I don't have much solace for wishy-washy people. I don't. You're either in or out, you know, I'm not gonna baby you. I've had too many people like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say, version B is the correct?
Yes.
The one that we.
Yeah, we're
Take
taking
it
out the,
for-
take out the.
And do you want to say in a policy that all resignations must be put in writing?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Can
in
you,
there. I
Can
think,
you mark up your copy
All right.
and have Melody do a
Okay.
new one,
all right,
okay?
Yeah.
And mark up yours like it should be.
Okay.
And then, give that to her to, she can make it the new one and send us all a copy. Hey, town clerk.
Melanie?
Yes,
So what Bill's gonna do is what we've just been talking about on this resignation thing. He's gonna make the changes on his copy and give it to you. And if you can just type up a new one and send everybody a copy of it, so we'll know what we're voting on next week. And then next week we'll be voting on these annual resolution of appropriations, which is just a sort of a formality more than anything else.
Right,
And, so
well,
that's-
Well, there are some-
I like to speak on that a little bit.
okay,
The first two, if we have the money available, I'm fine with. I'd like to get away from the community development one. And we had this last year. I don't think that the town should be doing community development and see what other towns do, but I think that this is a favoritism, and I really feel like there's so many nonprofits out there, PTO, SCAN, the museum, the fire department, whatever. I just don't think we should be in with our budget to be in a place of giving support to community developments like the Boys Club or the basketball league or socks. I mean, there's so many, and everybody's got their favorite local agency. It just came out that when we did this food drive, there's a lot of people who don't have soap or toilet paper. Melody was involved with that too. And I think that would be a great thing to do, but at the same time, I just think that would be my favoritism. We can't be all things to all people, and I just don't think that community development is something that we can do every year unless our budget supports it. I don't know if other communities do this. I don't know if Almore or Shells will kind of give to agency. And it's like you said last year, we need to have a scoring system. Like, why would we give to this one and not that one? I think there's a lot of great nonprofits out there, and I just don't think that it's easy to choose which one to give to. And I don't think we should be doing philanthropy like that. That's my feeling. Anyway,
It's kind of
going on.
It's kind of hard to justify giving money away.
Yeah, when you don't have it.
We spend half the night of the night talking about where we're gonna get the money from
Yeah.
grants.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, I'm fine with even the parks one, if we don't have the money for Canal Basin Square or Van Cleef, we can cut back on that, we can see right till the end of the year. We can
Bill?
live without that.
just to follow up, so this one here, going back to where it says community development locally, is this specifically about Boys and Girls Club?
No, it's about anyone. It could be any agency. I mean, it could be, I really think if anyone, the fire department, the other one I really like is, you probably guys don't see it, but the baseball league does so much work and brings a lot of people to town. They fix up those fields and they're out there working and spending on their gas and
Well, hold
but
on.
there's a lot of them, but I just don't think it's right to choose one.
Just a question again is, so these are specific, what's the specific amount that what are we asking?
well, there's two listed here, $3,000, so it's $2,500 for Boys and Girls Club.
Right,
Wait,
And
where's,
$500
where's this at?
It's in the.
Oh,
Scottsville
that's a
Town
different.
for 17 for
Okay,
yeah, I mean, I think I would gently disagree with you and say, this is a specific funding request for two things that they kind of jump off the page, so to speak. Number one is we are deeply tied to the Boys and Girls Club, and I've been a soccer person. My kids have played basketball. There's many good things, but I would still support the Boys and Girls Club, and the same thing, I think this opportunity to support one of our most active volunteers in the town who goes above and beyond with, is it $500, Eileen? Yeah, that to me seems reasonable for an effort that is supportive of, anyways, I think they're both good.
Well, yeah, but you know,
So let's be clear. I think there are 2 points here, Bill.
Yeah.
One is about allocating funds that have already been budgeted for this fiscal year, right, in terms of community development. So this is an allocation problem.
but it's
Well, here-
volunteer, it's a volunteer thing. I mean, we have to approve it if we wanted to.
That's true. You're approving the
Okay.
appropriation, but what you're talking about is also a budgetary thing.
Right,
In the next year's budget cycle, do we want to allocate for community development? That's a different issue. I just want to be very clear. What Javier is asking here is for appropriations from
So
the
he came up
current
with- he came
budget.
up with this. He came up with these ideas.
I don't know if it
No,
was
we
him
didn't.
or we've been talking about this for a while.
So before, I guess you were the only one who wasn't here. A couple years ago, Boys and Girls Club came to us and
Yeah.
asked for this, and we
Right.
voted to put it
Yeah.
into the
I
budget.
didn't vote for that.
But you voted no,
Yeah, I'm
but
voting again.
it passed and
I
it's
know.
there. And it's in the budget for
We had a
this.
7,000 surplus. I'm against it this year and I'm against having it next year. I'm against both. I just don't think that that's
But it's
good-
already-
What we have done this
Public money.
year is that the initial amount we gave the Boys and Girls Club was 5,000.
Right.
So this year, because everything, we cut it to
Cut it back,
2,500.
yeah.
And just to give you, for your G Whiz file, Buckingham gave them 10,000 last year and doing 12,000 this year.
Yeah.
But they're,
I don't think we
they're
should get-
county.
Anyway, my feeling is we should get rid
We're
of.
not
the whole
paying a
thing.
maintenance man.
But
right
it's
now.
already, that's for the next budget.
No,
But
it's
if
just-
we,
Certainly.
It's already in the budget.
$500 is
You know,
gonna
we
be
don't have to find that. We'd have an extra money.
Be money better spent.
This is just, as Eileen said, this is just to, we will vote next week to approve appropriations of money that's already been placed in the budget to go in certain directions.
I think we should go one by one too. I don't think we should just do them all as a lump sum.
well, what's a lump sum
And we
that's
don't even have to-
listed here?
And we could do,
No, he means vote on
$5,000
allocation, vote on.
and we could cut back on that. I'd like to know our surplus before we do any of these, to tell you the truth.
These are already in the budget
It's in
then.
the budget, doesn't worry, but it doesn't have anything to do with.
It doesn't
surplus.
have anything to do, we already passed
have
the
to-
budget.
But they have to be approved.
But
The
it's approved in the
appropriation.
budget. Now we're just
We-
appropriating it out of the budget.
Right.
We're spending in accordance to what we already approved in the budget last time.
Okay, so we can,
So this is more sort of pro forma. It's not, we're not really,
Yeah, we said anything over a certain amount,
right,
right,
right.
you know.
So this
And
is
these-
$3,000 that Javier wants us to be aware that he would like to spend per our guidance on the budgetary process.
okay, well, I understand how everybody feels, but I don't know how.
That's okay. I mean,
All right.
listen, you have to vote with how
Yeah.
you feel.
I just feel like we can't be giving public money out to.
I
To
will,
volunteers or to these agencies. I just don't think it's right.
It's gonna come up again next year, so.
I
we'll have
hope,
a chance.
I hope that, yeah, let's
Well,
not
but,
make sure it's in the budget ever again.
but Mr. Mayor made a good point. You were saying you don't know what other towns do and you don't think other places,
Yeah.
and he let you know what Savannah gave and what Buckingham gave. So there is a precedent for
forgive it.
small government giving, like doing community development, and giving to these agencies.
Well, and I think part of the beauty of a small town and community is like this is the opportunity to give within the community, to support the community. If we sit here, and we have sat here before, and it makes my head want to explode. We talk about $1,200 for this, or $2,000 for this. If we are just, if it takes that little for us to say, well, wow, is this gonna blow our budget? I come back to the revenue issue. We have a huge revenue problem because I don't think we should be taking this off. I think we should be increasing our revenue. people have come to me and said, well, why is the police department such a huge number in our budget? Well, if our budget was bigger, it wouldn't be, right? If our budget was bigger, we could afford this. Revenue is important,
Well, also
and our
spending,
character is based on what we can give.
well, I think you gotta look at spending too, and I think we had a lot of reckless spending in the last few years. And I don't know if this is reckless, but I just don't think it's responsible spending to give these at this stage, unless we know we have $50,000 surplus, something like that, maybe, and even
If we had
that, even,
$50,000 surplus, I would hope we would give them a lot more than 25.
no, I hope we wouldn't do it at all. I hope we would use it for other things. There's so many needs in this town besides this. I mean, we got buildings that are leaving work. We got.
Well, the
I
people
could
need to
see
be
your
first.
point, I could see your point if you were just saying like, and this is no offense against the soccer or baseball or little league football. That's purely recreational, but the Boys and Girls Club
Right.
is educational and it provides a family who may be working 2 or 3 jobs. Childcare after school every day for $35 a year.
Right.
The club is paying $2,000 a year per child for the 100 children that come every day. So, I mean, that's just,
I mean, I know does a great service and I agree, but I know people who are making far more than us that get $35 a day and it's not even
Well, I
Scottsville
used to
people.
see
These are
First
people from
Lady-
Savannah, Buckingham, they're all over the place. And if we're gonna give something, it should be specifically for Scottsville. And
well, used to see when I was able to do the mobile food pantry, I used to see Cadillacs, BMWs and Mercedes fill up
Yeah.
to get their bags of groceries too, so.
But sometimes they're picking up for other people too.
Doesn't
You
matter.
You
It's all.
can't judge, you can't.
Anyhow, you'll have your opportunity next Tuesday.
Everybody can vote
Alright.
next Tuesday.
Alright.
Now, is there anything under new topics we need to talk about?
Oh, yes, I have one new topic for the group. It's just an FYI. I want to gauge your support. I'm just tangentially involved in an effort to bring in YMCA, either services or community center into Scottsville. Nancy Gill is credited for originally thinking about the opportunity. She and Charlie Armstrong reached out to the director of YMCA services locally. Nancy asked if I would get involved and take that over. I said yes.
So if Charlie's involved, where were we thinking?
Potentially at the tire factory, maybe, but that's not at all stated or in town, whatnot explicitly. But I think Charlie is interested in the community and doing some things for the community. Yeah, it would be a good thing over the tire factory. So the woman who is the director is on maternity leave till the summer, but I don't want to move forward unless I have your support.
I think if they could bring the Y into the tire factory, I am 100% supportive of that.
I think any kind of, and when I exchanged emails, I haven't spoken to the woman yet, but when we exchanged emails, it's unclear about whether it would be a physical presence or just classes in a community setting or what that would be. But I think either way, it would be great.
Would they be singing the song here or over there?
You're the one we're gonna call to do.
I think the bottom line
Mark
is,
Twain already has his role. You're gonna be the one.
That'll be another TikTok.
That's right.
any dialogue that we have with parties that could help Scottsville have the dialogue.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, so-
Eddie, Bill, any objection?
What's the proposal again? I'm curious.
Is it okay to talk to the YMCA?
Bringing YMCA services or some sort of presence into town.
Oh, I think that'd be great.
Okay, Eddie,
And
all right?
and I think we go to, they also have some sort of, and one of the greatest needs, maybe the YMCA would be, is a gym or a workout facility, some sort of physical.
Well, we'll see where the conversations
Like if
go.
they do it up there like in Scottsville, well, that would be wonderful. Because they are great.
Yancey has a really state-of-the-art workout facility right now.
I'm
They're
gonna
getting,
check that
Who
out.
does?
yeah, Yancey.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
of the Nancy Community
Yeah.
Center.
Did
And
they?
they're breaking ground today. They're supposed to go ground today for a even bigger facility.
They do a lot of things going on up there.
That's,
They do
Yeah,
a
that's
really
quite
good
the-
job.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff up there.
Yeah, they do a really
Yeah.
good, Mr. Brooks does.
It's
a
only
really
4
good job.
miles away. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we should support them.
all right, well, thank
All
everybody.
right, that's it.
We'll go home. think
Thank
about
you.
these things.
Y'all have a wonderful evening.
you as well.
And I'm heading to the
Bye.
Really cool, you must be so proud.
Thank you.
Got a friend that, he's in the group that meets at the library on Monday afternoons at Filters and News. And she lives across from Eddie along Mountain Vista. Chris, you know Chris? He lives in a little house off to the left after you pass your house. Yeah, it sits off at the road.
I've seen it walking.
Yeah, she owned a nursery
Oh, fun.
and she had coached me to go.
Oh, I would love that. That'd be a dream job.
Project who's mainly through the chamber to encourage all the businesses. The chamber one year, remember when they bought flower boxes there? And town took over the flower. But it was Nancy Bruce was here then, and she kept them looking like that. But encourage businesses to beautify with flower boxes. And then she will, out of her pocket, pay a cash prize to the one that's voted the best looking.
Oh, I love it.
So I thought, yeah, that's why.
You gotta incentivize everything.
I'll get her to come by when you're working down here. one day
Perfect.
and meet
I
you.
guess you could call weed grow a ring, huh?
Yeah.